Welcome to Beat the Line on Pub Sports Radio. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Week 6 of the NFL. And after my glorious 2-week run, I've now fallen into the world of the red. Needed to switch it up, throw on razor sharp picks, cash it hat. I need to change it around. It was a rough week for me. And it started off beautifully on Thursday with 2 cashers and Rams. Seattle first half under 26.5, and then things fell apart. It ended up being a 3-win, 7-loss, minus 4.8 unit week. And a lot of the other NFL shows that you may watch, they don't track their records and honestly put it out with transparency. We do, and it's dangerous when you do that shit. You can sit back and feel good about yourself when you're succeeding, but when you're struggling, it's all out there for everybody to see. We do, and it's dangerous when you do that shit. You know, fucking, I'm angry. We got a little bit of feedback there. Bebsie's going to fix that. I'm angry. I'm angry, and there's so many moving parts to this week with all these injuries. I think there's some opportunities for us to get paid, and I've moved on nothing so far. So thank you guys all so much for joining us. We got the Brian Watson in the house, Snook Slayer, Burgundy Bets, JT, TJ Parks, I Heavy. Slatsy 45 says, after today's show and now tonight, I think we are in a relationship. Only bet so far, Cowboys minus 3.5. Tough last week. And Slatsy, we were so lucky to get through the Survivor week with the Vikings. Both Slatsy and I won last year. So I've hit 22 straight Survivors in the last year and a half. And TJ Parks ready to go. Birdie in the house. Caveman Bets, Key, and VP. That's Bomb Polo and his beautiful wife. Dennis Trusty ready to go. Says, I'm loving this Raging Cajun game. I was so caught up in NFL that I didn't bet the under. Maybe that's a good thing. I was also leaning towards the Raging Cajuns, but I do have money on the NHL tonight, and I'm trying so hard not to stare at what's going on there. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Bebsie, we need to heat up badly. How you feeling today, my man?
I feel okay. This weekend wasn't disastrous. I knew I should have bet the other side with the Raiders. I knew as soon as that Gruden thing came out, that bet was just destroyed. And they played exactly how I thought they would play. Like a team that despised their coach. Now he's gone. And frankly, he should have been gone anyways. But, now he's resigned. I should have bet the other side. I knew that those two were gonna destroy me, but not. I'm mad at Shanahan for not cashing my Sermon bet. He gave him one carry. He averaged 4.7 yards a carry the week before. He had a great game. Then he gave him one carry. He got 7 yards on that one carry. Why one? Why one carry? Why'd you give your quarterback a million throws and now, or a million runs and now he's hurt his knee? I hate Kyle Shanahan right now.
Your Cowboys double-ups have been hitting, and you've left the Browns double-ups. And I know, it was an interesting spot with the Chargers game, but, those double-ups, I have a ton of friends tailing them. You started something last year. I have a ton of friends tailing them, and I've noticed that you've left the Browns double-ups. Let's just do a quick review. This is my week 3, 4, and 5 have been losing weeks, and it's early in the season, but I'm angry and concerned. So Rams minus 2.5 cash. Rams, Seattle first half under 26.5 cash. Bengals plus 3 push. And that was heartbreaking. I was so wrong on a couple spots. I was so wrong on the Miami Buccaneers spot. And I was so wrong on the Chiefs minus 2.5 spots. So those were 3 losses. Miami, Tampa under 48, Dolphins plus 10, Chiefs minus 2.5.
Can I get a little bit of credit for being the only one who was preaching the Bills on Tuesday? And everyone said I was crazy, and everyone said Chiefs at home, no problem. This Bills team is good. People need to get on board with that.
They're better than good. They dominated every phase of that game. They didn't exert any energy. I mean, at one point in the first half, what did Josh Allen – what did he complete? 6 passes in the first half? Or maybe 8. I have the stats when we break down the game, but for 200 and something yards. Giants first quarter plus 3 was a push. Raiders minus 5.5 was awful. 49ers plus 5 upset me so much because the 49ers plus 5 and the Patriots team total under 24.5 were both losses. But I was right. And seeing Ski Profit here in the chat, Ski Profit is such a great gambler. You know, he's a great capper, but he's also a great gambler. And we see that when we have the horse racing shows, he's able to figure out the right bet. I knew it was a letdown spot for the Arizona Cardinals. Why was I not just on the Arizona Cardinals team total under or the under in the game? I knew it was a letdown spot for them, but I'm on 49ers plus 5 now. I knew that the Patriots should not be that big of a favorite after a hugely emotional game against Brady. And yet I take the team total under 24.5 that loses by a half point instead of taking the Texans. I cashed with Colts plus 7. I knew when Indianapolis took the big lead that I was in trouble with my under 45.5. So very, very disappointing. Von Post has been screaming the Bills from week 1. JT says I was on the Bills. Great work. Great work. Harold Williams, also Bills money line, live bet Bills team total over Chargers money line, Arizona live bet, Bears money line. Great work, Harold Williams. Look, you know, this is a show where we all work together, and I'm seeing a lot of you guys cash. And one of the things that, you know, we pride ourselves on is that, like, I've worked my ass off prepping these games. So we have all the injuries, all of the angles, and then you guys take it to the bank when I don't. And I hope to turn that around this week. For Bebsie, a 5-5 week down 0.45 units. Jets Atlanta over 46 cash. Titans minus 4 cashed. I was close to making a move on that game and ended up getting talked off of it on the Sunday show, and that just irritated me enormously. Bengals plus 3 was a push. New England Houston under 40 loss. Miami Tampa under 48 loss. Raiders first half minus 3 loss. Raiders full game minus 5.5 loss. Colts plus 7 was a win. So you went into your additions at 3 and 4. Sermon was a loss, but then the double up on Zeke and Pollard was cash. So, I pride myself, and I've told the guys who've run with us before, the last company I worked for, 2 companies, SBR, said they didn't want Pete and I to track our action, honestly, transparent. They didn't want it because what happens if you start losing? And it's keeping me up at night and making me angry and making me wear a non-football hat. And look, this is how we roll. We're always going to be honest, transparent, and look, we're taking it right in the old bottom mouth right now, right in the old prison pocket. And I plan to turn that around right now. I can't be too loud because my kids are sleeping. But let's go, Bebsie. Let's turn this shit around right fucking now. We got Maxwell Smart in the house. Bebsie, you ready to get to work?
Can I share something real quick? And I think this may change our fortunes on the show.
Sure.
Being that we're both Niners fans, and this arrived for me in the mail today. And I'm very excited, and I want to share it with you, Jimmy, and I want all these great cappers, these great football fans to see this.
Oh, wow. Dwight Clark autographed.
Oh, and Joe Montana.
Oh, Jesus.
Got them both on there.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that a thing of beauty?
My goodness. That is gorgeous.
So let's turn this around, shall we?
Let's turn this around. Let's turn this around right now. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on Pub Sports Radio. Time to get to work. We start with the Thursday nighter, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Tampa Bay Buccaneers 4-1, 1-1 on the road at Philadelphia Eagles 2-3, 0-2 at home. We're at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We'll start with this market here. The Buccaneers open up at -6.5. They moved to -7. Heritage still hanging at 6.5, but Bet Online is the first book that's claiming a 7.5, but it's not really. The 7.5 is heavily juiced, so they're really at a 7 as well. Let's move over to the totals on the Thursday nighter here. It opened up at 53. It's now dropping 52.5. Pinnacle's the first book to move it to 52. Let's move over to the cash flow in this spot. We have 11,436 tickets in on the spread. 21% of the tickets are on the Eagles and 55% of the cash. It interests me that the big bets have come in on the Eagles because you would think if you were going to make a monster move on the Eagles, you would wait till an hour before kickoff. So I almost think that the sharps aren't that fucking sharp here in this spot because that's just a mistake right there. But still, it's important to note that the much bigger bets have come in on the Eagles. From a total standpoint, 51% of the tickets are on the over and 81% of cash is on the over, and yet it's dropped a full point. Craig says, will Brady's thumb be an issue? He claims it won't be, but let's break this down. Buccaneers coming off their most complete game to date. 45-17 destruction of the Dolphins at home. Brady 30 of 41, 411 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. It's the first time in his 22-year career. This guy is just like, he's incredible is what he is. He's a winner. I tell that to my girlfriend all the time that, he's a winner. Say whatever you want about him, but make sure it ends with, well, the man is a winner. 400 yards, 5 touchdowns in the same game for the first time in a 22-year career. He hurt his thumb with 2 minutes, 30 seconds left in the first half. Hit his hand on a helmet. Nobody knew about it. Unaware of the injury. 3 of his 5 touchdown passes were after he got injured. In practice, he had his thumb and wrist taped. He also wore a glove during Monday's practice, didn't throw a pass. You know what he's doing. He's just messing with everybody. He's going to go out and probably be excellent again. And we saw what the Chiefs did to this Eagles defense. We'll get into them in a second. Antonio Brown caught 7 passes for 124 yards, 2 touchdowns, and deserves respect. NFL's longest active streak with at least 1 catch in 141 consecutive games, fastest 900 career receptions. And, Hall of Famer Marvin Harrison was the previous fastest, 149. Give Brady respect for standing by Antonio Brown through all the possible mental health issues, whatever was going on. Brady stood by him. And, that's the right guy to stand by. Mike Evans caught 6 passes for 113 yards and 2 touchdowns. Godwin, 7 passes for 70 yards. He's been playing through ankle and knee injuries, and he's hurting right now. I'm not sure what the expectations are of him on Thursday night, but from a player prop standpoint, I'd be nervous going on overs, and maybe the unders are to look for him. Fournette ran 12 times for 67 yards. He caught 4 passes for 43 yards. The Bucs defense swarming. Shaquille Barrett, 1.5 sacks. They got 4 sacks. Quarterback hits. JPP returned to the lineup after missing 2 games. Jamel Dean started after sitting out the previous week. Now, Levante David limped off the field. He's expected to miss time with a low ankle sprain. He will not be in the lineup. There was a thought that Sean Murphy-Bunting might be close to returning. That's not true. That's been squashed by Arians. He's not close to returning. Cornerback Carlton Davis was placed on the IR October 7th. Ryan Jensen is questionable with a hip injury. Antoine Winfield missed Sunday's game, is still in concussion protocol. He might not be ready. Defensive end Patrick O'Connor, Rob Gronkowski remain injured, but not on IR. Let's start. I don't want to keep talking. I need to hear, something else. Buccaneers, Eagles. Let's start with the Buccaneers breakdown. What are your expectations of them this week? And do you think? I don't know. I tried to fade them last week and looked like an ass clown.
Yeah, I don't know, Jimmy. They played an unbelievable game against a Miami team that's really struggling right now. To find an identity even. No run game at all is killing that team, but that's not what you're asking about. You're asking about the Bucs. The Godwin injuries, the fact that he's playing hurt, I think he'll keep playing hurt. Hopefully, he can get right after the bye week. But this is a physical game, and so obviously he's gonna take a pounding. The Brady thumb thing, I think you hit the nail on the head. He's fine. He's not, I don't know. He's just going to do some thumb stretches and then throw for 400 yards again. I agree with your look here in that if you want the Eagles, hold off, wait till an hour before game time, and then throw on it. And I kind of like that look. Again, it's Thursday, so I'm not interested in it. But if I were to make a move on this game, it would be waiting and taking the Eagles. If this thumb injury has any validity to it, I'm not accusing them of faking it. I'm accusing them of playing a little bit of mind games with it. And the short week where they have to travel to Philly, the favor is for Philadelphia in this one. A lot of points right now, and that would be my look in this one. So the Bucs still banged up secondary. Sherman does not look great. And to be fair, he didn't look great last year either. When he was in, he was worse than when the Niners were rolling with Verrett and Mosley. So that guy should just switch to playing safety. He's so smart. He understands football maybe better than anyone in the league, not named Tom Brady. and he should really make that transition. He'd help a team out a lot more playing safety at this stage in his career. But I agree with you, Jim. The look here is Philly, but I would wait on that.
You know, Slatsy has a question for you, and I will ask you that question. I want to fade the Bucs. Why? Why do I choose this life? I don't know why, but I want to, especially on the road. Say what?
Sorry, did you say Slatsy's got a question for you?
Yeah, and I'll pose it to you, but I'd like to move into this. I'd like to close on the question.
Okay.
Eagles come in off an impressive 21-18 win at Carolina. Jalen Hurts was 22 of 37 for 198 yards. I want to talk about the Eagles here, but I'm about to cash my first bet of the year in NHL. And look, I don't like to slap my own back, but the first period under 1.5 and expecting the Lightning to be, with the banners going up, lethargic, and this Penguins team always rises to the occasion with the injuries, was a thing of fucking beauty. And I'm about to catch my first bet of the year, and it feels fucking good. It feels fucking good. And because I'm coming off a shit NFL week, I'll take any kind of good feeling I can goddamn get. Jalen Hurts was 22 of 37 for 198 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. It was a plus line, by the way, plus 115 on the show this morning, but when I bet it after the show, it moved to plus 105. Devonta Smith caught 7 passes for 77 yards. Dallas Goedert caught 2 passes for 28 yards and was placed on the COVID reserve today. That leaves a very tight and difficult window for him to be available to play. He is vaccinated, but he needs to test negative for the virus twice, 24 hours apart, and be asymptomatic for 48 hours. I don't know if he's going to make it in. And we were expecting that Goddard Ertz 2 tight end set to help Hurts quite a bit in so many different packages that can work in. And Goddard's been good. 15 of 19 targets he's caught, 216 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Miles Sanders ran 11 times for 45 yards. Alex Singleton all over the field, 14 tackles. Eagles got 3 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. Darius Slay, 2 interceptions. Nice to see him start, stepping up and playing good football again. Carolina managed just 267 yards against an Eagles defense that the 2 weeks prior had been absolutely destroyed. Now, the Chiefs were part of that. Offensive tackles Lane Johnson has been out for personal reasons, and Jordan Mailata didn't play, remained questionable for this week. And defensive end Derek Barnett was inactive and remains questionable for this week. Bebsie, I'll close with the question, but I'd like to know, thank you, Nick Martin. I've just been grinding for the last 24 hours to prepare for these shows, and so it feels good to get a fucking win, buddy. Bebsie, I want the Eagles. If I bet them, which I don't know if I will wait until the very last minute. And curious what you think of this total moving from 53 to 52 when the big bets are coming in on the over. What are your feelings on the Eagles' victory over the Panthers? And here they are in a home spot against the Buccaneers.
I think the Panthers right now are getting a little bit overvalued. They had a hot start. Everyone kind of wanted Sam Darnold to really, really have an incredible year and stick it to the Jets and all that. And I just think the Panthers are a fine team, and they're not a great team. So they're going to lose certain games. So I don't think anybody should be overly shocked by this win. I think overreactions should be crazy. But look, there's still a lot of playmakers on this team. And Philadelphia has had some tough losses this year. That 2-3 record, it's not like they've been destroyed in all 3 of those losses. So they're playing decent football. I really like Jalen Hurts. He shows young quarterback, rookie, like he still hasn't played 16 games, so he's still pretty much a rookie quarterback. You do see that a lot of the time, but you also see crazy playmaking ability with him. And I don't know, like they're facing some serious injuries with no Derek. Sorry, you're saying Derek Barnett is out, or is he's questionable?
He remains questionable. They've not given us an update, and I tried to find it at this point. He just remains questionable.
But they are out Brandon Brooks and Brandon Graham for, I believe, the season for both of them, which is devastating. They need Mailata back. So look, they're facing some serious injuries. Miles Sanders has been underwhelming. I'm kind of excited about the future of Kenneth Gainwell, especially because that's the most apropos running back name. He gains well, Kenneth Gainwell. But look, I think there's no value in taking the Bucs. I think there's value in taking the Eagles. But again, you do have to wait if that's your play, because you got to see who's available and you got to see if this line moves.
What do you think of this total moving from 53 to 52?
It's interesting that the big bets are coming in on the over and it's moving down. My instinct would be to put this on the under, being that it's a short week, ton of injuries on both sides. That's just my 2 cents. Apparently, I don't always agree with the Sharps. But hey, the Sharps haven't been too sharp so far.
Yeah, I mean, the public had a huge day on Sunday, and I got killed. At this point, I mean, does this give you memories of the Patriots barely getting past the Giants last year on the road? There are these spots, they barely got by the Patriots on the road, then they destroy at home. Just 3 days off. This is a veteran-laden team. The Buccaneers, they're probably more susceptible on Thursday nights, but
it's a tough spot for both of these teams given their injuries. Short week, which rolls right into the question from Slats. I hate Thursday night football because I'm very much anti-NFL and pro-player and pro the game itself. And I think Thursday night football is an inferior product that puts the players at extra risk. I think it's bullshit that they have to play it. It's all about money. I don't even watch Thursday night football games, to be honest with you. I'll watch the Niners because I'll have an anxiety attack if I don't. But I'll watch the highlights later. I just don't support it. I know there's not a single player in the league that likes it playing on short rest. And again, these guys aren't fully back from the car accidents they were in on Sunday, and they're just not ready to play. So I fucking hate it, and I wish they would get rid of it. They never will, of course, but unless we all stop watching.
Yeah, which it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
No, I can't wait for Thursday night. Look, okay, let's move on from this spot. We'll move on sort of with this plan. Birdie says, I don't think you bet the Eagles because they're better or more talented. You bet them because Brady struggles on a short week. I disagree about waiting. When you get a 7.5 minus 110, bet it. Oh, look, that's what we're waiting for, is a 7.5 minus 110. Brady says, I'm still not committed to this game, but I don't see Sharps letting this line go past 7.5. That happens. Don't bet the Eagles. That's interesting. So Birdie has the angle with, if the Sharps let this go to 7.5, don't bet the Eagles. That's a very interesting take, Birdie. That's a really interesting take. And there might be a lot of truth to that angle. If this stays at 7, it's because the books won't move it to 7.5, and they're probably live. That's a very sharp take, Birdie. All right, we got Mississippi Whisperer in the house. There is your Thursday nighter. No move. You didn't quite, and I know we need to move on to be quicker, and I apologize here. Could you give me a quick take on the total? This is a veteran-laden squad that's not going to go all out after 72 hours off of the game. Do you think the under is in play?
I did say I would think under in this. Just two banged-up teams playing on a short week. The under would be my play.
Yeah. I think I might. Well, we're going to watch the injury situation is much more important from an Eagles side of things than the Buccaneers side of things. So I think the under is interesting. And the Eagles plus the points is interesting. Very quickly, why were the Chiefs able to destroy the Eagles defense, and then the Eagles defense was looking so good against the Panthers? I clearly understand the Chiefs offense much better than Panthers offense without McCaffrey, but then do you see the Buccaneers being able to do the exact same thing?
Again, that would have to come down to injuries and health. And again, short week is going to be really tough on Brady. It's going to be tough on Godwin as well. It's going to be tough on Gronk. Like, all these guys need a little bit more rest right now, and they're not going to get it. So I wouldn't expect that. Again, if all the sharp money's coming in on the over, I think the sharps might be wrong on this one.
All right, let's move on to Sunday. Mississippi Whisper lead us in, says, boys, excited for the show as always, week to week. Looking forward to the discussion in the chat and hearing these two guide us to cash and tickets, baby. Thank you, Mississippi Whisper. Pocket Lamar says, Gronkowski hasn't played in 3 weeks. Yeah, we know he hasn't played, and there's no chance of him coming back on a Thursday nighter. R says, AB and Godwin, Evans, carve them up. Arthur Meade Jr. in the house. Great to see you, Arthur. Ron Crawford. Thank you guys for joining us. All right, let's go. 9:30 a.m. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London, England. Very interesting first week there. Bebsie cashed the over in that spot with the Falcons and Jets. Now we have the Dolphins at 1-4 at the Jacksonville Jaguars at 0-5. Let's start with the market here and the cash flow. The Dolphins open up as 3-point favorites. They move to 3.5-point favorites. This total opens up at 44.5 and is being flying up, skyrocketing up. 45.5 moves to 46, then moves to 47, and then Heritage, which is a sharp book, drops to 47.5. Very interesting. Let's see if the cash flow follows suit here. At this point, we have 4,236 tickets in. 62% of the tickets, 53% of the cash on the Dolphins. So some big bets coming in on Jacksonville. From a total side of things, we have 52% of tickets on the under and 81% of cash on the under. Dolphins have lost 4 straight following that season-opening victory over the Pats. They come in off an ugly beatdown, 45-17 at Tampa. Jacoby Brissett, 27-39, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Looked like he hurt his hamstring in the opening quarter. He stuck around in the game. The Dolphins ran just 9 times for 39 yards. Looking at their roster, look, I didn't think Kenyon Drake was the answer by any means, but looking at who was battling for RB1, I was like, they're going to have the same problems they did last year. All of a sudden, Flores' decisions that looked so good a year ago aren't seemingly moving to the next level. So, yeah, you got the group of guys that believe in you and are going to fight with you. Now you should probably acquire talent. Now, look, not having Devontae Parker and Will Fuller hurts badly. So I get it. You lose these wide receiver weapons, and maybe Brissett is a questionable arm that, you lose the weapons, and now nobody trusts Brissett beating you, and they know that the run game can't beat you, and that's the problem, I think, with this Dolphins offense at this point. Preston Williams, 3 catches for 60 yards. Dolphins got 2 sacks, 6 quarterback hits on Brady. And Adam Shaheen is day-to-day with a knee injury, and Will Fuller was placed on the IR with the finger injury. Jaguars coming off their 20th straight loss, 37-19 at home versus Tennessee. They moved into sole possession of the second longest losing streak in NFL history, 6 shy of the 1977 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's too bad that Urban Meyer, fucked up. It's funny that his whole focus isn't on football. You see the guys that succeed, like look at Andy Reid. Andy Reid's whole family falls apart because the only thing he cares about is football. And then you have Urban Meyer not caring enough about football. And it's crazy to me with all these, with this opportunity with this young squad that it wouldn't be all football time, just focus on football and not be, out at your bar or whatever. Whatever. Trevor Lawrence, 23-33 for 273 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Dan, other coaches, could you imagine another coach being out at a bar at 10 or 11 at night? These other coaches are at the stadium at 5 in the morning, and here's Urban Meyer, Crystal called it the bowling ball. I still can't comprehend when you have this opportunity that you would do something so frivolous. You don't deserve this opportunity. Dan Arnold was Trevor Lawrence's number one target, 6 catches for 64 yards, but he lost the fumble that was returned for a score. Tavon Austin caught 5 passes for 54 yards. James Robinson, that week 1 decision to give Hyde more carries than James Robinson was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
That's still making you angry.
It still is. It's just so ignorant. He's such an ignorant.
He really thinks a lot of himself. Like, he thinks he's a genius. He thinks he's smarter than everyone else. And look, the record he had at Ohio State sort of backs that up. But it's Ohio State, man. Like, you're gonna win games.
Oh, Crystal's so funny. She's so fun to cap with. She's such a strong capper. So funny. James Robinson, 18 carries for 149 yards. Jacksonville was only forced to punt twice. You're forced to punt twice and you lose 37-19. I mean, let's forget about everything that happened last week. How bad of a coach are you that you're forced to punt twice and you lose 37-19? Just horrible. They got 3 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. Now, Brandon Linder was carted off the field and was placed on injured reserve today. That's a huge loss at center when we know that a young quarterback needs trust in his center. It's a huge loss. Miles Jackson, day-to-day with an oblique injury. Dakota Allen got hurt with a shoulder injury. Defensive end Roy Roberts-Harris, Laurenti McCray, and quarterback Tyson Campbell were all inactive, remain questionable to get back at it. I understand why it moved to 3 to 3.5. I think that the Jaguars will blow up before they can build back up and move forward. Your thoughts on this spot, 9:30 a.m. Eastern at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London, England. Okay,
I might oversimplify this here, but it's obviously difficult for teams to go play in England. You're out of your routine. You're in a different country. Everything is a little bit harder for them. That's why they keep showing English people shitty games. They get the Jets and was the other game there that weekend? Anyway, they keep giving them shit games. But my point is, it's a difficult spot for both teams. But which coach, Brian Flores or Urban Meyer, do you think will do a better job managing their football team and these, difficult situations that are going to come up by playing in England? And the answer is Flores. Urban Meyer is going to be like, hey, we're in England. I don't have a bar here. I can go be a drunk piece of shit this week. Like, I just don't think that team is going to be ready. And I do believe that Brian Flores will have his team ready. Add insult to injury, that center injury, Trevor Lawrence without his center, that's going to be extra tough. There's just too much for this Jags team to overcome this week, and Urban Meyer isn't the guy to guide them through it.
I feel like that's an important hook, that half point. I think I'd be better off not betting this football game, but I shouldn't say clearly, because we look at these numbers. We have 38% of the tickets on Jacksonville, 47% of the cash. I like your point, though. Flores, I don't understand some of the decisions around player personnel this year, and I respected them enormously last year. They were fighting for him last year. And the last 2 years, they were fighting for him. Ron Crawford says Dolphins or pass. That's it. It's Dolphins or pass. This total skyrocketing to the over makes me think the Dolphins win this game. Makes me think that the Jaguars – look, the Jaguars punted twice and lost by 18 points. It makes me think that they're very vulnerable here. Bebsie, do you have any interest in making anything official here for this one?
No, because I don't have to bet this game. And it's not an enticing enough game. I don't care that this game is happening. That's why it's happening in England. Because they're like, this game sucks. Just put it in England. Give them this. They don't care. And I don't care either, and I can't bet on this game.
Kev Riley says stay away game. Kev Riley, by the way, is the hottest handicapper that we run with right now. It's Kevin Riley. A pocket quarterback Lamar Jackson says it best. He said last year they had a leader in Fitzpatrick. They did. Maybe that's just well put. I mean, we know he makes tons of mistakes, but he's a leader. And maybe that is a big difference in this football team.
People like him. People like Fitzpatrick.
Okay, I guess I certainly lean towards the Dolphins, and you have to think this is a buy low spot after that shit kicking they just took from the Buccaneers. But an ugly game, and you get it, UK. Let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern, Los Angeles Chargers at Baltimore Ravens. Chargers 4-1, 2-0 on the road. At Baltimore Ravens 4-1, 2-0 at home. We're at M&T Bank Stadium, Baltimore, Maryland. This one is a beauty. What a beauty this game is going to be. I can't wait to watch it. Let's start with the market. The Ravens open up as 3-point favorites. That's where they stand. There has been a 3-cent move at Pinnacle towards the Chargers. This total opened up at 51.5. There's been a 5-cent move to the over, and UWager and Bodog have moved it to 52. They're the only books that moved it to 52. Let's move over to the money here. In this spot, we have 5,913 tickets in, and it's all on the Chargers, and the line's not moving. I've been looking at this, hourly. 93% of the tickets, 97% of the cash on the Chargers. Now, we know what happens on our Sunday morning shows. When I break down these numbers, this is less than 10% of the tickets that we will talk about on Sunday. So there's going to be a ton of movement. Then 37% of tickets and 97% of cash on the under. A lot of sharp cappers on the under in the Chargers-Browns game, a game that I just wanted to watch, a game my dad was at. Said it was the most enjoyable football game he's ever watched in his life. That's what he told me.
Wow.
That's what he told me.
That's high praise. Your dad's seen some games.
He has. And he was just he said he just never seen anything like it. I guess the term would be gobsmacked and loving every second of it. Chargers come in off the game of the week. 47-42 win at home over the Browns. Herbert, 26 of 43, 398 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. 11th 300-yard game. I mean, I cannot believe now, looking back at the Tua Herbert situation, that there was so much controversy over all of this because Herbert looks incredible. Most 300-yard games by any quarterback in their first 2 years in the league. Mike Williams, his main target, 8 receptions for 165 touchdowns. Keenan Allen, 6 catches for 75 yards. Austin Eckler, 17 carries for 66 yards. Caught 5 passes for 53 yards, 1 touchdown. He did fumble twice, losing one of them, and that's becoming a bit of an issue. The Chargers were 3 for 3 on 4th down. They're now 7 for 7 on 4th down this year. Derwin James, 17 tackles and a sack. And that was the only sack and quarterback hit the Chargers managed on Mayfield. That's a problem. Abushi, their guard, suffered a knee injury during the first quarter and will require surgery to repair a torn ACL. Will miss the rest of the season. Running back Justin Jackson missed the Browns game. He's questionable to go this week. Ravens come in off a short week after their excellent 31-25 comeback victory at home over the Colts. They came back from a 25-9 deficit in the fourth quarter. Lamar Jackson was spectacular. 37-43. Career-high 442 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Ran 14 times for 62 yards. Was just in control. They had their record-tying streak of 43 straight 100-yard rushing games snapped. I'm sure they would have liked to have one more game and then have it snapped, but whatever. They scored a touchdown on each of their final 4 possessions. Now, Calais Campbell, what a beast he is. Blocks that 37-yard field goal. Mark Andrews, 11 catches for 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. Marquise Brown, 9 catches for 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. Brandon Stevens was all over the field, 12 tackles, 1 quarterback hit. They got 2 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. But already without Rashad Bateman, lose Sammy Watkins to a hamstring injury. That guy's hammy just acts up nonstop. So you still have Marquise Brown. You still have Mark Andrews. But more butts. Offensive lineman Ben Cleveland carted off the field with a knee injury second quarter. He's being placed on the IR. Offensive lineman Kevin Zeitler, injured his knee as well. Safety Deshaun Elliott, safety Geno Stone, offensive tackle Ronnie Stanley were all inactive last week. I know this is questionable this week. Are you not surprised that the market's not moving towards the Chargers here, Bebsie?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I am. I guess I sort of understand why, but look, Lamar Jackson's coming off the best game he's ever played. But a crazy come from behind overtime win on Monday Night Football. Now you got to come back and show out against the Chargers. And look, the Chargers just played an excellent game against the Browns, especially Justin Herbert in that offense. And I think the Browns got a better defense than the Ravens. Yes, the Chargers now have to travel across country, which is difficult. But look, it's not like they have much of a home field advantage. We've seen SoFi; they don't show up for the Chargers there. So I love the Chargers in this spot, and I am going to make it my first play. I just think if you can get the Chargers with some points, that's just great value here. These two teams, they're both 4-1. They're both very good football teams. I just like the Chargers a little bit more.
Pocket quarterback Lamar Jackson. I love capping with him. He says Chargers' pass defense is elite, so this will be a slow game. The Chargers couldn't lay a hand on Baker Mayfield in that Browns game. Talk to me about the Chargers' defense and what you saw in that Browns game.
Look, I think that the Browns just have a very good offensive line. They had a very good game plan. I don't think you can use that as an indictment on this Chargers defense. There's still loads of talent. There's loads of talent in the secondary. With Derwin James on the field, that guy is just – that guy – I think if he can stay healthy, that guy can turn into an Ed Reed-esque defender. He is so talented. He's so fun to watch. I hope he can just stay healthy. But, they still have Joey Bosa. They still have a lot of guys who can create pressure. I think you'll see a better version of this defense this week. But, yeah, that Browns team is exceptionally good, and they lost a tough one this week to the Chargers. But I think I would praise that Browns O-line and offense more than I would condemn the Chargers defense for giving up so many points last week.
Well, old me would already be on the Chargers, and now I look at the market and I have pause and need to talk it out. We have a great stat from Ron Crawford. This is this year. 2 teams playing each other where one team covered and the other did not. Play the team that did not cover, and you'd be 25-8 against the spread this year. That's wild. By the way, my dad, season ticket holder for the Chargers, thinks Bosa is so overrated. Is shitting all over him. And, he's a judgmental dude.
Well, I respectfully disagree, but
no, I hear you. I cannot move on the Chargers in this spot, even though I can understand why anybody would want to. And at this point, I cannot do it. Bebsie, do you want me to line shop for you on these Chargers?
Sure, yeah.
+3 is what we are looking at. We got a +3 with the lowest VIG. It's -108 at Heritage and at Pinnacle. +3. Bebsie's on the board. I'm still not on the board. Bebsie +3, -108 at Pinnacle. And, the side I'm more comfortable with than a total here. I can understand why this 51.5 hasn't moved. It feels like a very sharp number. Trusty says the better teams that LA plays, they have given up 20 to the Cowboys, not a ton. Chiefs 24, that's a decent amount, and Browns 42. And Harold Williams says, give me that bet as well. Don Ricci says that +3 sounds like Cincy last week. iHeavy08 says the books are going to make a killing if the Pens win, and they're up 1-0. look, I wouldn't be surprised if the Lightning came back, and look, it's one game in the season. But I said all of this on my show today. You guys know hockey's my bread and butter. Just talking about hockey makes my palms leak. But I didn't bet the Pens, but I didn't bet on the Lightning. All right, let's move on. Bebsie's on the board, +3, -108. 2-0 now, says pocket quarterback Lamar Jackson. I'm not going to enjoy that because I have friends on the Lightning and I want them to cash. So, but I'm not. We move on. We move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Green Bay Packers 4-1, 2-1 on the road at Chicago Bears 3-2, 2-0 at home. Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. God, I try so hard to talk about football, but Bebsie, you have what? Do you not have the most enormous vividness of these Penguins stepping up every time they have an injury? Every time that Malkin or Crosby's out, this team just they seem to come together nonstop, and then they come back and they're fully healthy and get knocked out of the playoffs like ass clowns.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. It's reminiscent of that 2001 Toronto Maple Leafs team that played most of the playoffs without Matt Sundin and dominated. And then they were like, well, when Matt Sundin comes back, we're going to win the cup. And then they, of course, got ousted by Carolina that got swept by Detroit. But that's ancient history. That's 20 years ago. What the hell am I talking about it for?
Let's move on. Birdie says, and why didn't you bet them? In fear, but I did bet the first period under 1.5, which you have to admit correlates perfectly with the Pens stepping up and the Lightning not. So you have to give me the benefit out there. I did bet the first period under 1.5 with a plus line. That correlates with Penguins playing well tonight. Packers come in off a wild 25-22 overtime win at Cincinnati. Mason Crosby missed 3 straight potential winning field goals before hitting a 49-yarder in overtime. It was absolutely crazy. It was Evan McPherson missed 2 field goals. The whole thing was absolutely crazy. Let's take a look at the market move in this spot. This total opened up at 46. It's now at 45. Let's move over to the Packers. Open up -3.5. They are now -4.5. Mason Crosby had converted all 6 field goals, 11 PATs in the first 4 games. Rodgers, 27-39 for 344 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Devontae Adams was excellent. 11 receptions for 206 yards, 1 touchdown. Aaron Jones, 14 carries for 103 yards. He looked like a boss. And so did A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon ran 8 times for 30 yards, then caught 4 passes for 49 yards and a touchdown. He's a truck. Packers got 3 sacks, 8 quarterback hits on Joe Burrow. But this is a huge but, because Jair Alexander was put on the injured reserve on Saturday and could require season-ending injury, and Kevin King left in the second half with a shoulder injury. That's a lot to deal with. Lucas Patrick started in place of center Josh Myers. Myers is again listed as questionable this week, and guard Elgin Jenkins was inactive last week, is listed as questionable this week. Cindy plays horses rolling with us. It was great to cap NHL with you today, Cindy. Thank you so much for joining us. Bears coming off a 29-road victory over at the Raiders. The Raiders were clearly reeling over the controversy surrounding their head coach. So I don't know what to make of it. The Bears' 32nd ranked offense managed just 252 yards. Chicago's defense allowed 3 points from the Vegas first 7 drives. And I don't know what to make of that stat either, to be honest with you. Justin Fields, 12 of 20, 111 yards, throws his first career touchdown pass. Hyperextends his left leg, got the wind knocked out of him, only missed 2 plays. I respected that. I liked seeing it. Darnell Mooney led the receivers with 3 catches for 35 yards. I think we're going to have to get used to these kind of wide receiver stats for this football team. Allen Robinson, 4 passes for 32 yards. With David Montgomery on the IR, Khalil Herbert ran 18 times for 75 yards. Damian Williams had another good game, 16 carries for 64 yards. Roquan Smith, 10 tackles, 1 pass deflected. Khalil Mack looked good after facing injury concerns, 8 tackles and 1 sack. They recorded 3 sacks and 4 quarterback hits. Right tackle Jermaine Ifedi left in the second quarter with a knee injury. I couldn't find an update on him. Linebacker Caleb Johnson also went out with a knee injury, no update. Backup linebacker Jeremiah Atochu injured his pectoral muscle. He's listed as out. Akeem Hicks missed last week, inactive. He's listed as questionable. And tight ends Jesse James and JP Holtz were inactive and also listed as questionable. Market moves from 3.5 to 4.5 on the Packers. Do you agree with this market move?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to back the Packers or no play here because, like you said, it's difficult to decide what to make of the Bears. The Bears won last week, but they won because one team didn't show up, and rightfully so. I wouldn't want to play for a piece of shit coach like Gruden. So I wouldn't want to play for a piece of shit coach like Matt Nagy either. So I look at this game like the Pack are going to continue doing what they're doing, which is winning football games, and the Bears are going to go back to us not knowing what to expect from them. It's going to be a tough spot. It's a divisional matchup. Yes, the Bears are at home, but Justin Fields is not being given any help by his head coach or his offensive line. This offensive line is putrid. And now they have no Montgomery, which makes things harder for them. Yes, they pull out the win this week, but again, I think circumstances were the only reason they won that game and not because they're anywhere near as good as the Raiders football team. So I wish I would have got in early on this game. I have pause to bet this number now, but I do like Green Bay in this. They're just a superior team with a superior coach.
Do you agree with this market move towards the under? I didn't read out the numbers here in the market, and I apologize for that. 6,115 tickets in. They say with 78% confidence that the Bears will go down to +4. That was said in the chat by Mississippi Whisperer. Oh, he says take the 4.5 while you got it. No, sorry, I misread that. Here we have Sports Insight saying with 78% confidence the Bears will go down to 4. So if you like the Bears at +4.5, you should probably take it now. I find that very interesting. 78% of the tickets, 74% of the cash on the Packers. The money line total, or the money total isn't up yet, but we have 53% of tickets on the over. I think this will be a slowly moved game. I'd love to know if Akeem Hicks was going to play.
Well, but we've also seen this strategy from Green Bay. They get a lead, they run the ball, they slow the game down. I think you're going to see this. So I think the under is very much the play in this game because the Bears at the best of times aren't putting up points in bunches.
Very, very interesting. Dutch Boy Fresh looking at the team total under 20 for the Bears. Fernando looking at backing the Packers here. So, again, if you have any interest in the Bears, take them now, it looks like. At least that's what Sports Insight's saying.
I think I might tail that look from our boy Dutch.
Bears team total over? I'm not going to...
Wait, he wants team total over?
No, Bears team total under 20.
Yeah, that's what what I want to tail, not any sort of team total over.
That makes sense to me.
That makes sense to me too.
All right, Bebsie, I'm going to line shop for you at a few different books when this show is over. I'm not going to do it right now, but I'd be curious to see what Bet365 is hanging on this spot. So why don't we go over there quickly? The Chicago Bears team total over at Bet365 is 19.5, juice to the over. So it probably just moved from 20.5. Very interesting. So I'm going to line shop, but Bears team total under 20.5. I'll just put a question mark beside it, and I think that makes sense. So I'm going to put a bunch of asterisks beside the question marks. All right. There we go. Bears team total under for Bebsie. Second look on the board. Snook Slayer says Packers run the clock. Bears D helps keep it close. I like the points. I'm interested in the points as well at +4.5. It's just that I can't let what happened last week have anything to do with my handicapping of the Bears because I don't know. I can't explain what was going on with the Raiders. And I feel like if you were going to try to explain it, you would say that they were a complete mess without their head coach, and we shouldn't. And look what Fields still did, 111 passing yards? So,
yeah, I refuse to blame Justin Fields for that. He literally is no help.
Oh, because of Nagy, not because of the talent at wide receiver.
No, he's got talent at wide receiver, but he has no O-line, and his head coach clearly has no game plan for the guy they drafted.
Another really interesting stat here from our guys in the chat. Dami Gunricci, who was on our Sunday show and did an excellent job, says last 10 years, road favorites off a loss versus teams off of a win, 59% against the spread. Road favorites off a loss versus teams off a win, 59% against the spread. And teams off 20-point losses, 54% against the spread. Arthur Mead looking at New York Giants team to London. We're going to get there soon. Eric Chang says Packers defense is pretty awful and hurt, though. Will it play a factor? I don't see how. I guess the issue is their real problems are in the secondary, and can Justin Fields take advantage of them? You know.
Can Matt Nagy take advantage of it by dialing up plays for downfield? I don't think so.
Sorry, I had a little mic there. I hit the cord. Yeah, I don't know. That's the problem. I think it's a twofold.
The other thing, too, is that O-line can't pass block for shit. So that's why you're seeing all these short passes. They don't have time to let Allen Robinson stretch the field. Poor Allen Robinson.
More great stats coming off of Dami Gunricci. Road division dogs last 2 years, 57% against the spread. And plus 6 or less last 2 years, 62%. This year, over 70%. All right, let's move on from that spot. I've still yet to move on the card, but that team total under for the Bears makes sense. I wish I could get more information on Akeem Hicks. But Cindy Plays Horses says the weather could be challenging. Before we move on, let me jump into that. Something I probably should have already have gotten, but let's just go to Chicago weather here quickly. For Sunday, it's gorgeous. There's wind, 13 miles an hour, but it's gorgeous. And Dommy Gunn says Chargers fit that short road dog. All right, so Bebsie's on two different spots on the board. I've yet to move, but that team total under does make sense. Let's move on to a game that's lost a lot of its luster. 1 p.m. Eastern, Los Angeles Rams 4-1, 2-0 on the road, and New York Giants 1-4, 0-2 at home at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Clearly, we need to get more information on the Giants' injuries, and we should start there. Let me give you a line before we move any further. And not all the books have offered it, but the Rams are 10.5-point favorites. The total is either at 47.5 at 47. So let's start with the Giants. I mean, that's the key part in this whole equation. Coming off the ugly 44-20 loss at Dallas, saw them lose Saquon Barkley to the ankle injury and Daniel Jones to a concussion. Jones is in concussion protocol, and he didn't look too bad. I could see Jones playing. Barkley's not going to be playing for 2 to 3 weeks. But that was just the beginning of the injuries. Kadarius Toney was excellent. 10 catches for 189 yards. He sustained an ankle injury. It's been said not significant, questionable, should be expected to play. Cornerback Rodarius Williams tore his ACL, done for the season. Offensive tackle Andrew Thomas was active against the Cowboys, but was only available in case of emergency. Will he be good to go this week? Kenny Golladay suffered a hyperextended knee. He's questionable to go this week. They're already playing without Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton, who are again questionable to go this week, along with safety Jabril Peppers. Mike Glennon came in and looked okay. 16-25, 170. I don't know if it's 197 or 176. I messed it up. Less than 200 yards, but he looked good enough. But through 2 picks, this defense just couldn't get any stops. The Cowboys rolled. The Giants got 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Oh, sorry, the Cowboys offense just rolled, and the Giants got the 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. These Rams come in off extra rest and preparations after a 26-17 win at the Seahawks on Thursday night. They were held to just 3 points in the first half before finding a rhythm. Stafford, 25 of 37, 365 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Robert Woods, 12 for 150 yards. Cooper Kupp, 7 for 92 yards. Darrell Henderson ran 17 times for 82 yards. The Rams finished with 476 yards of offense. That's the most they've amassed in the last 20 games. That's crazy. 476 yards of offense and 3 points in the first half and 26 points in the game. Aaron Donald was all over the field. 7 tackles, 2 for losses, 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits. Nick Scott, Troy Reader each had interceptions. Quarterback Darius Williams suffered an ankle injury in the fourth quarter. He did not return. He's been placed on IR. So they lose Darius Williams, but this is a healthy group. Birdie is saying the exact same thing I was thinking. The exact same thing I was thinking here. And that is this has to be a get-right game for the Rams D, doesn't it? I lean under here. This has to be a business-like performance for the Rams, regardless of who's playing a quarterback for the Giants. This is starting to scream at me towards the under. Let's just take one look and see if we have any information on the market. 6,946 tickets in. 81% of the tickets, 94% of the cash on the Rams. And then 41% of tickets, 80% of cash on the over, which I don't understand. Bebsie, take it away for us here, Rams, Giants.
I mean, yeah, we're lockstep. You, Birdie, myself. I agree. I think this has to be a dominant performance from the Rams, coming in and facing a very wounded Giants squad. I feel so bad for Saquon Barkley. Just supreme talent. Poor guy can't stay healthy. Another just unlucky injury. Somebody stepping on the outside of his foot. Brutal. Hate to see it. And I don't look, if you're Joe Judge and you believe Daniel Jones is the guy, which I don't know how you can at this point, but if you do, you're not throwing him to the Wolves. He's not, like, they shouldn't play him. If he's even kind of questionable to play, and we all saw him walking off that field, he should not be playing this week. His brain got scrambled. He was legless walking away. I would hate to see him play. I'm very sympathetic to the players, and I want none of them to ever get hurt. So I hate seeing that. I really hope they don't play him. I don't know if it's a big dip if he's not playing, because I don't think that much of Daniel Jones. He can throw a pretty deep ball, but that's it. That's all I ever see from him. Is every now and then he throws a unbelievably beautiful ball, and then he'll throw up a bunch of ducks. But the Rams on extra rest, playing an inferior team, I think their defense shows out, and I think they cruise in this one. I'd be worried a little bit about a backdoor cover with these numbers being so high and the fact that the Giants are at home. But I was looking at first quarter and first half to bet on the Rams here, and I think I might just have to pull the trigger on both of them.
Well, let's discuss this a little more, because Fernando Encina says Rams team total over, and Dom Reach says Rams team total over with a question mark, where I'm the complete opposite. I think the bet is Rams team total under. I do not, and then again, obviously that means under in the full game under. I do not see why the Rams wouldn't just completely just come in with a business-like approach. Trusty says, is this a look-ahead spot for the Rams? I mean, we know the Lions are who they are, but Goff and Stafford have to be involved emotionally. It's hard to take Giants plus 10.5. I think I should even wait. I just think this is just a business lunch. Maybe that's the wrong term. This is just a get the job done and get out. This is a road corporate gig for you, Bebsie. Go in, do the job, get paid your money, and get out healthy and safe. Get the car back in the garage.
Do your time.
Yeah.
Don't call anyone any names. Lose your temper. Just get it done. I agree with you, but I do think – I just think this Giants team, if you're betting the team total under for the Rams, you're now placing your money in the Giants' hands, saying, please stop this offense. Which I don't know if you can. What I am comfortable with is a first quarter -3 and a first half -6.5. Because, again, I think you will see business Rams taking care of it. And then, who knows? Maybe foot off the gas a little bit in the second half. If this is a look-ahead spot, hey, we got the winless Detroit Lions next week. I don't know if it's a look-ahead spot. I understand the emotions for Stafford. Maybe not Goff the way he was ousted from town, but Stafford, I think, cared about the team in Detroit. So maybe there's some emotion there. I don't know if I would give this look-ahead credibility. I just see a vastly superior team playing a vastly inferior team, and the Rams have more rest right now, and they're healthier.
Yeah, this is well, I know what I want to do here. The only thing is that it plays against sort of my plan, which was that if there's more money bet than tickets, I shouldn't bet on the other side. And that's something I've been trying to do here, but it didn't help me at all this past week. And I know the public just completely ate, but there's still 80% of the cash is on the over for whatever reason. Can I just like to very quickly, I'll line up for you here in a second, but I'd love to see if Pinnacle is not even up on this game. Let's see what BetOnline has done with this total here. This total, Jesus. Of course, because it came out a week early. We watched Birdie hit these totals. The look-ahead total was 50. Of course, that was including Daniel Jones. 48, 47.5, and 47. Crystal Warren says, I agree with Jimmy. Even if they're smart, they'll slow – if they're smart, they'll slow it down for their defense. Maybe a first half over, though. Arthur Meade Jr. says, don't go against your plan. Brady says, I would say the Lions would be a better look next week than the Giants are this week. I agree with that. The Lions are a team buying into Goff and will play for them. I can't wait to talk about the Lions. There's no team I enjoy watching and capping more this year than the Detroit Lions. It's a soap opera, and it's sad. The coach ends up crying, and I love it. Okay, let's shop for Bebsie here right now. We're going to go first quarter on the spread. So, Bebsie, this is a double-up spot for you early.
Yep.
Bet 365 is the only book hanging a first quarter. That's shocking. I will double-check this, but right now it's first quarter -3, -110, and first half. I really think that this is a spot where they don't show up the way we expect them to. I really do. I think that, Glennon will be there, all these injuries, and
I would agree with you if it wasn't McVay and Stafford. These men are professionals.
I want the Rams team total under 30.5. Now I'm going to sit with this. Like that's what I've been doing. Not that's helped the last 3 weeks, but I'm going to sit and stare at this after the show. But Rams team total under 30.5 and the full game under 47.5 is what I'm going to do. This is a situation where, God, do you think there's what's the latest? I tried to get the latest Daniel Jones information. Is there any chance he's back in action here? Are they going to want him to face Aaron Donald here after the concussion?
This is what I'm saying. Like, you're going to throw your guy to the wolves when he's clearly been hit hard. There was no minor concussion. Are you going to throw him out there against Aaron Donald?
For me, Junior says Peter Loshak should get some carries if Saquon Barkley can't go. Birdie says, also don't forget Stafford hurt his hand last week. I think this is okay. I know what I'm doing, and I'm on a different angle than Bebsie. Ski Prof says, why Rams team total under? I just don't see them going into the 30s in this game. I don't see any need to do that whatsoever. I mean, look now. This was a mistake, but look what the Vikings did against the Lions. Look, this hurt. This made Zimmer look bad and almost cost them the game. It probably should have cost them the game. But they had no fear of the Detroit Lions, so they were so conservative. If Glennon is not the quarterback, this will be a mistake probably. But if Glennon's the quarterback, he can't hurt you. These guys can't hurt you. They can't beat you. So why go all out? Ski says, just bet the full game under if you think the Rams don't score. No, I think the best edge in a 10.5-point favorite spot would be a team total under on that team. I really do. If I think that a team is going to be all business and not really put in maximum effort, then I would love to take it. If they're a huge favorite, I think that's the best angle for me. So Arthur Meade Jr. agreeing with you on that spot. I don't. Dom says, I think it's easier for them scoring 34 than 24. I don't. On the road in a game that's going to start at 10 in the morning for them. Cindy Plays Horses said the defense could score 14. I do not think that Glennon will take the risks that he was taking against the Cowboys when he comes in and they're already down huge. So no, I understand this is not a popular pick, but that's my direction right now. Bebsie first quarter -3 and first half -6.5. Oh, then those were both at Bet365. So, all right, let's move on. We move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. The aforementioned Minnesota Vikings at Carolina Panthers. Vikings 2-3, 0-2 on the road. Panthers 3-2, 2-1 at home. We're at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. Vikings come in off barely getting by the Detroit Lions, 19-17 at home. Let's see what we are dealing with. I'll move back to full game here. Money lines and totals. And let's get to work. The Panthers opened up as 1.5-point favorites. That's flipped to the Vikings, who are now 1-point favorites. This total opened up at 47.5. We now see 46.5 and 46. Arthur Meade Jr. says Carolina Panthers get back on track, and Ron Crawford says under. Let's move over to the cash flow. And my first instinct, in all honesty, is that we might have a bit of a recency bias on the Vikings being unable to score. And I'm sure Zimmer hates himself for how he handled that Lions game. And he knows he deserved to lose that spot. I wonder, now look, we'll break it all down. Let's take a look what the cash is doing. 4,211 tickets in. 64% of the tickets on the Panthers, 54% of the cash. God, it feels like the Vikings and the Cousins are the play. 61% of tickets on the over, 55% of cash on the over, so bets coming in on the under. Real Deal Prime says good Panther spot. Dommy Gun says if they're going to be a workman-like type game, it won't be till mid-third quarter. I hear that. Rams' first half team, which I don't want anything to do with, but Rams' first half team total would then be in business. All right, let's go. Vikings come in off that 1917 win at home. Greg Joseph made the 54-yard field goal as time expired to give the Vikings 1917 win, and they didn't deserve it. Dan Campbell went for 2. It was a great call and left 37 seconds on the clock. And if you have any memory of Minnesota Vikings kicking, you know that they miss, and they cashed it. 55-yarder. I saw a 54-yarder at some places, but it says 55-yarder here. So Joseph had a 49-yard attempt with 3:17 remaining. It fell short. Then he cashes the 55. Vikings have now not scored a second-half touchdown for 4 straight weeks. Kirk Cousins, 25-34 for 275 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. With Cousins being unvaccinated, I do want to wait. I want to wait before I make Minnesota bets. I fucking hate that. I hate that's in my head. Justin Jefferson caught 7 passes for 124 yards. Thielen just 2 for 40. KJ Osborne had the great start to the year, just caught 3 passes for 14 yards. Alexander Mattison was a beast with Dalvin Cook out of the lineup. By the way, Dalvin Cook's missed 23 of 69 regular season games in his career. Madison, 25 carries for 113 yards, caught 7 passes, 40 yards, 1 touchdown. The defense got 4 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Defensive tackle Michael Pierce was inactive. He got hurt last week. Armin Watts replaced him in the starting lineup. Both Pierce and Cook are listed as questionable this week. Panthers coming off a disappointing 21-18 loss at home to the Eagles. They're 3-0 with McCaffrey, 0-2 without him. But Chuba was great. 101 yards rushing on 24 carries. First 100-yard rushing game of his career. Darnold, worst game in the Panthers uniform, 21-37, 177 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Back-to-back losses to Dallas and Philadelphia. He's been hit 19 times and sacked 8. DJ Moore led receivers with 5 catches for 42 yards, but Robbie Anderson and him, they continue to struggle. He was open a couple times, and Darnold just missed him. Gilmore is expected to be activated off the physically unable to perform list. So that's this week. So Stephon Gilmore is expected to be in the lineup. Linebacker Shaq Thompson, running back Christian McCaffrey, offensive tackle Cameron Irving were inactive last week and are questionable to return this week. What an interesting game here, Bebsie. Vikings Panthers, take it away.
It's interesting that you thought there'd be recency bias with the Vikings, but not recency bias given that Carolina's lost their last 2 games and looked bad this week in doing so. That having been said, I think it's Minnesota or no play here. Just again, I think I agree with your idea. I just think I think there could be recency bias both ways here. Because if Carolina wins this week and they're sitting here at 4-1, are they -1 in this game? I don't think so. Or sorry, +1 in this game. I don't think so. So look, it's a hard play for me because I still don't know what to make of the Panthers. I think I know what to make of the Minnesota Vikings, and I do think the Minnesota Vikings will continue to get better as the season goes on, and I think they'll be looking at a potential wild card spot come playoff time. I don't know if I think the same about the Panthers. Stephon Gilmore for a 6th-round draft pick is incredible. So that should help, especially if he is healthy and ready to go. I don't know why the Niners are in desperate need for corners. I don't know why they couldn't make that happen somehow, but that's a completely unrelated story. But, yeah, I just think it's Vikings are no play here. I do trust what Kirk Cousins can do. I don't know what kind of Stephon Gilmore we're going to see this week. He hasn't played in some time. If it's Stephon Gilmore of old, congratulations. They found a great replacement for the injured J.C. Horn. But I believe tough spot for Carolina. I think Minnesota rolls, and it almost feels like it's more of a gut thing than anything right now.
And Birdie says, like I said, the only bet I've decided on this weekend is Vikings money line. Am I crazy here? Should I just let this shit go of wanting to wait? Like, I was afraid to put in the Vikings as my survivor pick until the last possible second because he's not vaccinated. I do not want to have money on the Vikings and have him be put in protocol. And you have to think it's probably going to happen once this year. Right? It was just crazy. Should I just let this shit go and start? Oh. Should I just let this shit go?
I mean, probably. Probably. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It feels like if they're not being put on a COVID list on Monday, it won't happen. But yeah, I wish I had an answer for you. I don't.
Both quarterbacks in this game are unvaccinated.
Really?
Yeah. Vikings, Panthers. I completely get a buy low spot on the Vikings. I think the Vikings just have a much higher ceiling than the Panthers, even if McCaffrey is healthy, which he could be. There's a lot of moving parts in this game. There's going to be a lot of information that's going to come out over the next few days. And I'm going to wait and get that information. So no move for me. Bebsie, is there anything you want to do here?
I'm good. Although I admire Birdie, and I think that's probably the right play.
I think so, too. I think it's probably the right play. And I may move on it by the time we get there. Dutch Boy Fresh says, Justin Jefferson being lights out, averaging 92 yards, 6.5 receptions a game. I look for that to continue. Alvin Smith joining us. Cindy Plays Horses says, I would let it go, but wait till Friday to bet if you have to think they have gone almost 2 years and being clean. And Crystal Warren says Thanksgiving and bye weeks would be when I'd worry about them in COVID. Todd Reeves says vaccinated or not, they can still get it. Oh, I understand that. That's not the question. It's just that the protocol is so much different. If you're vaccinated and you get popped on a Monday or Tuesday, you can play on Sunday. If you're not playing. You know, that's the difference. It's not about who can get it vaccinated or not. Nothing to do with that. Just has to do with what you have to go through if you are a close proximity even. That's all it is. That's all it is. Okay, no move for us with Vikings and Panthers. We're going to move on to Kansas City Chiefs at the Washington football team. And, God, I mean, sometimes you're wrong in your analysis, and sometimes you just are just so embarrassingly wrong. And I was with the Chiefs. I mean, when it was 24-13 going into the half, they were so lucky to even be 24-13. I guess I'm just dealing with the vividness bias of the Chiefs, and it's costing me money. Chiefs 2-3, 1-1 on the road. Washington football team 2-3, 1-2 at home. FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. We'll start with the market here, and we have the Washington football team opening up as 6.5-point dogs. That's moved to 7. This total opened up at 55.5, and that's where it is, 55.5 right across the board. When we move to the cash in this spot, 8,000 tickets in. So we have more tickets in on this game than any other. 85% of the tickets on the Chiefs, just 80% of the cash. I just mean 5% difference there. Then we have 41% of the tickets on the under, 26% of the cash. So big bets coming in on the over in this spot. Chiefs come in after getting beaten in every phase of the game at home by the Bills, 38-20. Mahomes, 33-54 for 272 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He also ran 8 times for 61 yards, losing a fumble. McCole Hardman, 9 for 76. Tyreek Hill, 7 for 63. Travis Kelce, 6 for 57 and 1 touchdown. Tyreek Hill still shows that explosiveness. Obviously, a lot of talk about the cover 2, being able to kind of slow him down. But Kelce, he just doesn't look like that dominant force that I remember. Then they lose Clyde Edwards-Helaire to a left knee injury. It looks bad. He's been placed on the IR. They got no pressure with Chris Jones injured. Frank Clark being back wasn't enough. They finished with no sacks, 1 quarterback hit. Their defense could do nothing. Allen, so I was saying this earlier, and so Allen completed 7 passes in the first half. Just 7 for 219 yards and 2 touchdowns. Javarius Ward and Chris Jones are both listed as questionable this week. Washington comes in off a 33-22 loss at home to the Saints. Heineke 20-41 for 248 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Humphreys 3 catches for 73 yards. DeAndre Hunter 4 for 62. Scary Terry 4 for 46. Antonio Gibson 20 carries for 60 yards, 2 sacks, 9 quarterback hits. Chase Young got his first sack of the season. I think that Dommy Gunn-Ricci just put it out on a tee for us when he broke down this Washington defense that they're not good. I know it's easy to say now, but last year their division was so unbelievably weak that we thought they were great. After that win over Atlanta, it was like maybe they turned the corner. Saints finished with 369 yards, had scoring drives of 75, 60, and 75. Hail Mary, 1 play Hail Mary position cash. Curtis Samuel's groin injury continues. He missed the first 3 games of the season. He was targeted once by Heineke. Sam Cosmi, right tackle injured his left ankle. Attempted to return later. He limped off. Let's go over everything here because we know that Scherf and Jami Brown, and Scherf was a 2020 All-Pro right guard, inactive with a knee injury. Darryl Roberts with a quad injury. Let's go over everything right now for Washington. So Scherf, Sims, Jami Brown, questionable. Curtis. So it's possible that Fitzy could come back week 7, but I don't think quarterback is the problem here. Curtis Samuel, week to week. Don't expect him in the lineup. And Darryl Roberts, cornerback, dealing with quadriceps injury, out, and cost me with the ankle injury. Logan Thomas on IR, isn't practicing. Bebsie, very interesting spot here. Chiefs, Washington football team. Take it away.
Well, I think the Chiefs desperately need a win here. And that's crazy to say in week 6 against the Washington football team that the Kansas City Chiefs desperately need a win. But they're sitting there 2-3. Mahomes has not looked great this year. Their defense has been abysmal. And there's a lot of people questioning whether or not the Chiefs are done. I don't think they're done. I do question what the hell is going on, though. Like, Mahomes is looking bad. He looked terrible against Buffalo. His decisions were bad. His throws were off. A lot of that is Buffalo's defense playing great against them. But I know what you're saying about Kelsey not looking the same. He's not looking as explosive. Tyreek has had some incredible games. He's had some games where he was almost invisible. I don't know what to make of it, because if I'm Andy Reid right now, I'm losing it on my team, and I'm pushing for not just a win but a blowout this week. This has to be a statement win spot for them to save their season, to be honest with you. So for that reason, I want to back the Chiefs, but how do you back them after the way they've been playing? They've squeaked out the wins that they had. Like they barely beat the Browns in week 1. And I just, if you're not doing it this week, if you're not coming in and smashing the Washington football team the way they've been playing, they get beaten handedly by the Saints this past week. Their defense has clearly lost that identity that they did have. I just don't know when it happens for the Chiefs.
I do but I don't want to lay 7 here. Dennis says when the offense doesn't work, defense steps up. When defense doesn't work, offense steps up. That's what good teams do. Find ways to win. KC is not a good team finding ways to lose.
And to be honest with you, and I tweeted this out, a couple of people, very few people paid attention to it, but the Kansas City Chiefs should have lost by a lot more. The officiating in that game was doing everything they can to keep that game close, so people didn't change the channel. And I've talked about this on the show before. Every primetime game has, if it starts slipping, they'll penalize the team that's dominating enough to try and drag the other team back into it. There was that suspect call on was it Ryan Clark or was it Chris Jones? I can't remember. That roughing the passer. I think it was Ryan Clark.
Yeah, Jones was out.
Yeah, it was Ryan Clark. And but every other suspect penalty was clearly thrown against Buffalo, and it was so glaringly obvious. So the Chiefs probably should have lost by 30 points in that game. So I agree with what Dennis Garcia is saying. So therefore I can't back the Chiefs, but man, would I not want to put money on Washington?
I don't know what to do with this spot. I see I see looks here on, and look, when Ron Crawford likes a spot, you pay extra attention. Ron Crawford says they'll outscore Washington, bottom line, KC -7. Maybe this is the perfect time to back Kansas City. It certainly was when they went into Philadelphia. Do you see similarities here?
Sorry, what's that?
Just the similarities between Kansas City going into Philadelphia, needing a win, putting up 42 points very easily. Do you see similarities here?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they've had their one convincing win this season was that win. Now, mind you, they did beat the Browns, which is a very good football team. But yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, is that if the time is now for them to do that. But are they? It's one thing to say that. Yeah, this is what they need to do. They need to come out and dominate and have a convincing win. But are they going to do it? And I don't know if I have a ton of confidence in that. They should. They should come out and pummel this Washington team.
I don't know if they're going to do it.
I don't know if they are either. And also, like, was anything mentioned about Kelsey? Is he fine? Because that hit he took at the end was pretty vicious.
It was so vicious. That's a good point. Because I've got no information on him whatsoever. I was just past the scotch, though. So this is to all you guys. And look, if I have a giant week, I must get past the scotch every show for the rest of the season.
Well, now I want a scotch.
God, that's good. A little fitting. All right, let's move on. We move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Cincinnati Bengals at Detroit Lions. Bengals opened up as 3.5-point favorites, and that moved to 3. I thought it was 3 right across the board. It's moved back to 3.5. Let me get some facts on this. Yes, it has. So it moved to 3 at 7:50 this morning and lasted there for 5 hours until it moved back to 3.5. That is so interesting. I really thought that the public was going to come in on Detroit and we were going to get that 3 here. 5,724 tickets in, 30% of the tickets on the Lions, 39% of the cash. It could still go back to 3. 63% of tickets, 61% of the cash on the over. And Alvin Smith says, Jimmy and Bebsie, if y'all don't bet the Chiefs, I will be mad. Make that money. You know, God, there's so many similarities to that Eagles game. I think that you're probably right. And wouldn't you think that I'm sorry to move. I know we've moved on, but wouldn't you think that if the Chiefs were to do anything, they'd come out fired, just firing early?
Yeah, which made me kind of think of taking them first half.
Exactly. You know, I'm going to put a little note there. And then, but let's stick with where we're at. I have a little interest in the first half. Okay. Let's move on here. We're at Bengals Lions. Ron Crawford says you got to believe the Lions are on the verge of getting one. There's no doubt about it. But I just love watching them lose. Bengals coming off a heartbreaking 25-22 loss at home versus the Packers. Crosby missed 3 game-ending field goals. Evan McPherson missed 2. Joe Burrow was 26-38 for 281 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Was taken to the hospital after the game with a throat contusion and precautionary, expected to play this week. Jamar Chase looked excellent. 6 catches for 159 yards, 1 touchdown. And he's going up against Penei Sewell. And, God, Everson Griffin beat him on a couple spots there where you start thinking, wow, Burrow was very right. Was very, very right wanting Chase. Samaje Perine led the Bengals in rushing with 11 carries for 59 yards, tested positive for COVID on Monday. He's on the reserve COVID list. So is guard Jackson Carman. Joe Mixon's banged up. You can tell. Ran 10 times for 33 yards and a touchdown. You know, and now Perine's hurt. Could be a problem. Alvin Smith says Detroit win here. Dennis Garcia said I took Detroit plus 3.5 under 48. Cincinnati's played 5 games. 4 of them have been ended by exactly 3 points. Detroit hangs around in games. Don't trust Cincinnati to win and cover his favorites on the road yet. Dennis Trusty says, pardon my language, but these Cincy Bengals, I can't trust them every time I think it's a smash and grab. They barely win. Every time I think they cover, they don't and get crushed. They cover. Well, your language was just fine there, buddy. Von Bell was very good. 9 tackles, 3 for a loss. Trey Hendrickson had both sacks, 3 quarterback hits, and Bengals only had 2 other quarterback hits. Chidobe Awuzie picked off Aaron Rodgers, returned at 42 yards. Linebacker Jordan Evans was carted off the field with a knee injury late in the first half, did not return. He's being placed on injured reserve. Xavier Suafilo was placed on injured reserve on Friday. He started the first 2 games and then suffered a knee injury week 2 at Chicago. Cornerback Trey Waynes is on the IR. Wide receiver Mike Thomas was inactive last week, listed as questionable. Another week, another hilarious, heartbreaking loss for the Detroit Lions. And this one hurt. You know, Campbell successfully calls for the 2-point conversion with 37 seconds left. Greg Joseph hits a 54-yard field goal after missing a 47-yarder. And Campbell chokes up. It reminds me of when the Cubs were losing and losing and losing. I get some sort of sick happiness off of it. Goff with 21 of 35 for 203 yards, no touchdowns and an interception. Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift are looking really good. Jamal Williams, 13 carries, 57 yards. DeAndre Swift, 11 carries, 51 yards, touchdown. Caught 6 passes for 53 yards. Amara St. Brown led receivers with 7 catches for 65 yards. As I said, Everson Griffin beat Penei Sewell badly a couple times. But, that'll happen. He'll get better. The defense still can't get enough pressure on quarterbacks. 2 quarterback sacks, 2 quarterback hits. Quintus Cephas left in the second quarter with a shoulder injury. He didn't return. And he's being placed on the IR with a collarbone injury. Cornerback Corey Ballantyne hurt a hamstring in the fourth quarter. He's listed as questionable this week. Frank Ragnow, done for the season, toe surgery. Offensive tackle Taylor Decker may return from IR this week. Bebsie, take it away. Interesting spot here. Bengals, Lions.
I think I want to take the the Lions and the points here. Because I do think these 0-5 Lions are playing better than 0-5. And I think they're behind Dan Campbell and behind Jared Goff. And a gutting loss. The second time this season they've lost from a last-second 50-plus yard field goal. And it's got to be heartbreaking. But the Bengals are still a team learning how to be good. They've started to get some pieces in place. Burrow is great. Jamar Chase, like you said, after a rough preseason where they were getting killed for not taking Penei Sewell, Jamar Chase has been excellent. But I just think that they're still young and they're still inexperienced, and it's a tough spot to go on the road and, cover the spread against a team that's hungry for that first win. I think they could still win, and it could still come on a last-second field goal, although after the 5 missed game-winning field goal opportunities in the last Bengals game, I don't know if I would trust that so much. It would be hilariously heartbreaking for the you look at you giggling over there like the dick you are.
I know where you're going.
It would be so funny to see it happen again. I'm not wishing that on the poor Detroit Lions, but holy fuck, I would see the humor in it. But I think I believe in the Lions at home this week to cover.
I don't. But I don't like the Bengals here on the road as favorites, in all honesty. We got some great stuff coming in from the chat. When Joseph lined up for the 55-yarder, I had my a couple different survivor pools online. But I said to everybody in my living room, and, not everybody speaks English, and, no one cared. But I said, he's gonna make this. And, my girlfriend remembers all the Vikings misses. But I was like, oh, look, he's going to hit this. He's going to make this 55-yard. And then I laughed. It's just part of the reason why you love sports. And then, look, I love Campbell. I love him tearing up. I love everything that's happening to the Detroit Lions, and it's going to make them better for it. Not that the fans need this shit, but it's going to make them better for it. Let's talk about a couple spots here. Why don't we start with Slatsy says 2 weeks in a row, Lions lose on the last play of the game. Cephas now out. Pro Bowl center Ragnow out for the season. They just figure out ways to lose. Dennis Garcia already said took Detroit plus 3.5 in the under 48. Says Detroit hangs around. Snook Slayer says Bengals laying points. If you ain't scared, he ain't been around long. Says Snook Slayer. That's a well put. Ron Crawford says since he lost to the Bears, come on. And then we got more great stuff. Birdie says, I do think this is a bad spot for the Lions. Ron Crawford, by the way, on Lions money line. Says, I do think this is a bad spot for Lions from Birdie. Says, upon reflection, DG, that's Dennis Garcia, I think it has to be Cincy. If the Lions win, they're winning next week versus the Rams. This team believes in their coach and quarterback. Hoops 590 says the Lions coach is too much of a rah-rah guy. Dennis Garcia says Burrow and Chase will hook up for a pretty TD once a game, but Cincinnati struggles to sustain drives because their offensive line sucks. Sacks waiting to happen. They're 4-1 to the under for a reason. Only over was an OT game. Wow. And Dennis Garcia says Minnesota's my survivor pick last week. I had Detroit plus and under, but boy, that was annoying. Res Mob, I wish that you had not bet bag on the Lightning, but we'll get those bags back for you. I might be in that spot because the only side I did take was Vegas tonight, but I cashed first period under 1.5 with ease. At this point, I don't want anything to do with this game. I'll be interested to see what the market does. I can understand this hook being important, but I'm going to have to sit with this spot for longer. Bebs, you want anything official for Bengals Lions, or we move on?
Yeah, I gotta pass on this. I can't lay money with the Lions.
You know, what do you think of this total though at 47.5? You lose Ragnow. You're playing with a ton of heart with the Lions. The Lions are a team that they don't excel in the red zone, but they get first downs, which for me is an beautiful under spot, and they're fighting for their coach. And then you have, as Dennis Garcia says, a team in the Bengals who can give you the big play with Jamar Chase, but can't sustain drives. At this point, 63% of tickets are on the over, 61% of the cash. If you had a free $500 bet right now on the total at 47.5, what would it be?
Under, because I don't really trust either of these teams to put up points in buckets.
Ray Charles says the Packers barely beat Cincy. You think Detroit's going to keep it close? No way. All right. Okay, we're going to move on. No move for me at this point. Next up for us is the Houston Texans at Indianapolis Colts is next up. I got to bring up the Houston injury report because I got tired of writing it all out. And it's not a big one. I don't know why I was such a whiner. Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. Houston, Texas, 1-4, 0-2 on the road. At the Colts, 1-4, 0-2 at home. Let's start with the market in this game here. We have Indianapolis opening up as 9.5-point favorites. Sports Interaction and UWager moved to 10. The rest of the books are hanging at 9.5. And in fact, it's surprising they moved it to 10 because there's been a 4-cent move towards the Texans at Pinnacle. This total opened up at 43.5. There's been a 10-cent move. Oh, yeah, there's been a 10-cent move to the under, but Pinnacle hasn't moved it to 43. And the other books have all moved it to 42.5 while Pinnacle is waiting. Alvin Smith says Colts blowout. Let's move over to the cash flow here. I can't believe that I messed up betting the Texans-Patriots game with the Patriots team total under 24.5 because I felt like I had the game sort of figured out and I still lost. And that makes me want to take a dive off my 8th floor balcony. Let's see what we are dealing with here from a cash standpoint. Here we go. Houston. We have 4,703 tickets in. 58% of the tickets, 91% of the cash on Houston. 45% of tickets, 78% of the cash on the over. Texans coming off a tough 25-22 loss at home to the Patriots. Davis Mills, 21-29, career high 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Great bounce back spot for him after the debacle, the 4 picks the week prior. Chris Moore caught 5 passes for 109 yards and a touchdown. Chris Conley, 3 for 84 and a touchdown. Mark Ingram ran 16 times for 41 yards. Still not getting enough pressure. 1 sack, 4 quarterback hits. Let's move over to the injuries here. We have Amendola, Burkhead, and Brevin Jordan not on the IR. Still is questionable. Laramie Tunsil, though, diagnosed with a torn UCL in his left thumb that will require surgery. He says he plans to play through the injury. I respect that. Tyrod Taylor won't be activated for Week 6. There were some hopes that he would be. He will not be activated for Week 6. Colts come in off a disturbing 31-25 overtime loss at Baltimore. They spent most of the second half with 90% plus probability to win, up around 97% for long stretches. They let Ravens score TDs on their last 4 drives, scored 22 unanswered points in the fourth quarter, and overtime win. I don't know what to make of Frank Reich and his defense after watching that. Rodrigo Blankenship missed a 47-yard field goal in the final play of regulation, missed an extra point with the Colts up 25-17, hit a 37-yard kick blocked by Calais Campbell. Wentz 25-35 for a career-high 402 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Lost a fumble again. Jonathan Taylor ran 15 times for 53 yards, 1 touchdown. Caught 3 passes for 116 yards and a touchdown. Michael Pittman finally looked like the deep threat that they thought he was. Darius Leonard all over the field. I haven't said that all year. 13 tackles. The Colts still were incapable of getting stops when it counted. 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. It was, obviously a spot where I wish I was on the first half under instead of the full game under. Xavier Rhodes was evaluated for a concussion. He's now in concussion protocol. Their safety Campbell suffered knee and ankle injuries. He won't be available this week. And Andrew Sendejo suffered a concussion. He's also in concussion protocol. T.Y. Hilton close to be activated, but he's not expected to practice this week. Expect him in the lineup next week, they say. And then defensive end Kwity Paye, offensive tackle Braden Smith, defensive end Isaac Rochelle, cornerback Rock Ya-Sin, running back Jordan Wilkins, all inactive last week and are questionable this week. Look, I don't want the Colts. I don't want the Colts after what I saw, really. But the Colts have been a very tricky cap this year. But at 10, I would prefer the Texans. Take it away, Bebsie, Texans Colts.
Look, I narrowly got my cover this week. And, in that fourth quarter or second half, I was just like, oh, wow, easy cover. And then they completely shit the bed and then lost in overtime. Fortunately, they don't kick extra points in overtime. Otherwise, I would have had another push. But look, this 1-4 Colts team is a lot better than this 1-4 Houston Texans team. I just think it's a lot of points. I think 9.5 is maybe too much. How in the hell is Colts tired with Texas?
Tied, he meant.
Tied. Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Alvin. The one team is considerably better than the other. I just, I have a worry about them closing out the game. Now, the first half is sitting at -4.5, and I can get behind that, but I cannot get behind full game with them. And so I believe for the second week in a row, I'm going to put my hard-earned cash on the Colts. Because I believe that they can – I have to believe that they're a better team than the Texans. Unless Deshaun Watson comes trotting out of that tunnel, I don't think they have a chance. But again, I just don't love them. I can't trust them to close out a game right now. So I believe first half is the look, and I am going to move on it.
Let's lock it in here. Dutchy says, damn, this card reminds me of the day shift at the strip club. Pass. That's what I've been doing, but I won't end up at pass. I tell you that. I'll make moves. I just love gathering up all this information, listening to Bebsie, listening to the chat. All right, let's lock Bebsie into Colts first half here. First half Colts. What did you think of Davis Mills in his last start? Let me just give you this here and then answer this question. We have a -4.5 at -105 at both Pinnacle and Bet365. That's what you will get. Colts first half -4.5, -105. Briefly on Davis Mills, and then I'll move on.
Oh, sorry. You're asking me what I think of Davis Mills?
Yeah, what did you think of that last performance? It was pretty nice, I thought. It was a nice bounce back. He showed a lot of character. He showed a lot of heart.
Yeah, I mean, I said this before the season. Davis Mills, when he was coming out of high school, was the #1 prospect in the U.S. coming out of high school. And he has just had crazy injuries throughout college. I think he has an opportunity to be a good quarterback, and you see flashes of it. Obviously, he's had some, terrible moments, but what rookie quarterback doesn't? So I think there's a chance for Davis Mills to be a good quarterback in this league if he doesn't get hurt again, which given his college injury history, I wouldn't bank on that. But yeah, I'm starting to see why. I'm starting to see the talent there. But again, there will be growing pains for this young man, like there is for any other rookie quarterback. And this guy also wasn't a first round pick. It's not like this guy was a heavily touted guy. But again, he was heavily touted coming out of high school. Ton of injuries. He's made it here now. I'm happy that the guy's getting his opportunity. But there's going to be growing pains, Jimmy.
Burgundy Bet says, Jimmy, did anyone watch the game? All of Davis Mills' first half TDs were bad throws. Wide receivers bailed him out. Absolutely terrible. New England should have had multiple picks in that game. The second half showed it. And then Birdie. I love Birdie. I love Kevin with Birdie. You always got to stay on the balls of your feet, as my dad would say while he coached us. Well, I am throwing this out there. If Tyrod comes back, why can't the Texans win the division? Says Birdie. Alvin Smith loving that Colts first half look you're on. Crystal Warren saying Birdie got a hold of that moonshine again. Birdie says this Texas team was going to beat the Browns on the road if Tyrod didn't get hurt. I think that was very possible. No one is stepping up in this division. Randy Brand says Mills looks scared in the pocket. And Alvin Smith says Millsy got a way to go. All right. Bebsie moves on the Colts -4.5 at Pinnacle. And we move on. Those are all the 1 o'clock games. We go to 4:05 p.m. Let me get this set up here. And let's go. Arizona Cardinals at Cleveland Browns, First Energy Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm very excited about this football game. I'm still on first half. Let me move over to full game. Here we go. Cleveland opening up as 3-point favorites. That's moved to 2.5. Only 2 books are still hanging the 3 of the books that I keep an eye on. This total has opened at 54 and has dropped 4.5 points to 49.5. Let's see if the money backs that up. And here we go. The 4:05 start. 7,225 tickets in. It says with 89% confidence that Cleveland will go to -2.5, and which it already has. So we don't need that information. I apologize for that. 50% of the tickets are on Cleveland, 79% of the cash, and there's been a market move towards Arizona. Now, when I talked about in the tweet for this show about how there's so many injuries, so many moving parts, it's this game and it's the Browns that really need to be studied and figured out. 49% of tickets on the under, 61% of cash on the under. Obviously, Sharp's buying back here, which is what you should do in a situation like this if you're betting big dollars. Let's go. First Energy Stadium, Cleveland, Ohio. Cardinals come in off an ugly 17-10 win at home over the Niners. Improved to 5-0 for the first time since 1974. Came in averaging 35 points per game, which led the NFL. And I cannot believe that I didn't get paid off this game. It's so frustrating. Kyler Murray, 22-31, 239 yards, 1 touchdown. Also fumbled twice, losing 1. Hopkins, 6 catches for 87 yards, 1 touchdown. Rondale Moore caught 5 passes for 59 yards, ran 3 times for 38 yards. Connor ran 10 times for 29 yards. They got 2 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. And J.J. Watt had his best game in the Cardinals uniform. Big pass deflection in the fourth quarter. Got his first tackle for a loss. He pumps up the bench. And there's something to be said for that. Max Williams, tight end, we expect that he suffered a season-ending injury there, sadly, with his knee. Zeke Turner, linebacker, questionable to return this week with a shoulder injury. Rodney Hudson, center, also dealing with a rib injury. Byron Murphy Jr. and Marco Wilson were inactive last week and still aren't just questionable this week. Browns coming off this wild 47-42 loss at the Chargers. This game saw 1 tie, 8 lead changes, 4 in the final 15 minutes. In the last 15 minutes, the teams combined for 41 points. Browns are the first team in NFL history. This is a great stat. First team in NFL history to lose a regular season or playoff game when scoring 40-plus points with 500 yards of offense and no turnover. First team in NFL history to lose in that situation. Baker, 23-32, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Torn left labrum in his non-throwing shoulder when he tried to he made the tackle. When he made the tackle after throwing the pick early in the season, Njoku caught all 7 of his targets for 149 yards, 1 touchdown. He's the first Browns tight end since Gary Barnidge, 2015, to go for over 100 yards. Donovan Peoples-Jones caught 5 passes for 70 yards. Nick Chubb ran 21 times for 161 yards. Kareem Hunt ran 12 times for 61 yards, 2 touchdowns, also caught 5 passes for 28 yards. That's the good stuff. Here's what we need to figure out. Greedy Williams had 10 tackles and 1 pass deflected before leaving the game with a shoulder injury. He had an MRI on Monday, and try as I might, I could not get info on it. They also lost Denzel Ward to a neck injury. He had an MRI on Monday. The secondary is already thin without Greg Newsome. Myles Garrett, 3 tackles, 1 sack, 1 pass deflected, 3 quarterback hits. Browns had 2 sacks and 8 quarterback hits. Rookie linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah suffered a throat contusion, was taken to a local hospital. He was released. He's going to be fine, it looks like. Browns are also missing both starting tackles. Right tackle Jack Conklin suffered a knee injury in the third quarter. He had an MRI on Monday. Couldn't find out about that. Safety MJ Stewart had a hamstring injury in the second half, did not return. He was placed on IR. Offensive tackle Chris Hubbard, also due to a hamstring injury, was placed on IR. Stefanski said Monday that he's unsure if Jarvis Landry will be activated from injured reserve. There's a chance that he could be in the lineup. Defensive end Jadeveon Clowney, linebacker Tony Fields, Greg Newsome, and Jedrick Willis Jr. were all inactive last week and are listed as questionable this week. Wow. How do you deal with all that, Bebsie? Cardinals, Browns, take it away.
I mean, that is a laundry list of injuries and questionable statuses. I mean, I want to be bullish on Cleveland in this game, but the uncertainty, the sheer number of injuries that are listed there, and listen, we know what DeAndre Hopkins can do to a thin secondary. You got to have your top guy on him, and that guy's got to be healthy. If you don't have Jimmy Ward, you don't have Greedy Wilson, that's a really tough spot for this Browns defense. And again, like their offensive line that is so good, but still has a bunch of injuries. Will they get Jedrick Wills back this week? Listen, if they're healthy, I think Cleveland smashes Arizona, because Cleveland's sitting there at 3-2, and they have 2 very close losses to excellent football teams. Arizona, on the other hand, is 5-0 with some fluky wins against a much easier schedule so far. Look, they probably shouldn't have beat the Niners this week. The Niners did a great job beating themselves. Kyle Shanahan had a terrible game plan in place, and that was a very frustrating game to watch. But Arizona, again, they're sitting at 5-0, and they are not a 5-0 football team. So I think it's Cleveland or no play. And I think if you bet Cleveland now and some of these guys that are questionable are ready to go, you're just going to love your bet by the end of the week, because I think if they get enough of these guys back, the line moves. But if you're not getting any answers on these injuries right now, it's a tough play to make.
I'll take a 3, knowing that Greedy and Denzel Ward are back. And if in the end I push a bet because of it, I'm okay with that. I just need more information on the Browns injuries, and I completely understand. If you have balls to, bet the Browns expecting these guys to play, I respect that. I don't have it. So Alvin Smith has a question. There's Connor Mack in the house. Great to see you, C-Mac. Alvin Smith has a question. He says, Bebsie, if it comes down to a 2-minute drive, do you believe in Baker Mayfield?
That is an excellent question, Alvin. I believe in Kevin Stefanski using Baker Mayfield. Kind of. Not a ton. There's a lot of guys I would rather have in the 2-minute drill. Look, Baker is fine. He's a fine quarterback. He's not great. He's not bad. He's fine. And that's all he kind of has to be with this team around him so long as they're healthy. But that's obviously a bigger ask when they're not healthy. So short answer, kinda. Long answer, I don't have a good answer.
The weather on Sunday is a factor. Now, chance of showers, so we don't know, but there will be 20-mile-per-hour winds. There will be 20-mile-per-hour winds. Let's take one last look at what the total is in this spot, sitting at – that's why it dropped 4.5, 5 points, obviously. Okay. Well, part of it. Okay. No move for me, but I want the Browns. But I need Greedy. I need Denzel. And I'd love to have Newsome. If I can have a secondary, I'll make a move on them. If not, I will just sit back and watch. Again,
you'd love to have those tackles back, too, facing Chandler Jones.
No, you're absolutely right. But, Jones had that 5-sack statement game and then, hasn't done a ton since. But, no, you're absolutely right. There are issues here with the Browns. And, look, I've invested in them, and watching the Ravens come back against the Colts hurt me. That was a perfect spot for them to lose and put the Browns in the driver's seat here. Okay, we move on. 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Las Vegas Raiders 3-2, 1-1 on the road at the Denver Broncos. 3-2, 1-1 at home. We're at Empower Field, Mile High in Denver, Colorado. And this game is obviously clouded by the John Gruden resignation as head coach of the Vegas Raiders. And this is the best possible thing to happen to the franchise. They're so lucky. They may decide to pay him a little bit of money. They shouldn't give him a fucking cent. And they're so lucky that they're not stuck with this dude for the next 6 or 7 years. Or 6 years. The email controversy was clearly a distraction in the ugly 29 home loss to the Bears. Bebsie, it's funny because psychologically I wasn't sure it would be that enormous a distraction. I knew it would be a distraction, but I wasn't sure exactly what it would do to the team. I wasn't sold on them just falling apart with it, but you were. There was no doubt in your mind that you were. And in that situation, I'm sure that you will do what I've seen Loshak do in rare times, is just take the other side and lose the vig and lose the juice. And you were so certain that you counted those two bets as losses. And
yeah, I should have taken the other side. I knew that I knew deep down that there's no way that team was going to get up and play for that coach after all that shit. And I should have just done what I knew was going to happen.
You were so certain about it too. You just counted them as losses. I should have stopped everything and pushed that other way, but I was surprised how certain you were it was going to hurt them. And both coaching controversies badly hurt the teams. Badly hurt. I mean, the Jaguars and the Raiders just completely no-show. I still cannot believe that the Jaguars punted twice and lost by 18 points. I mean, that's just how do you coach that? I mean, that's just unfathomable. Rich Bisaccia, special teams coordinator, being with the team for a long time, takes over. The Raiders failed to score on their opening drive in their 11th consecutive game, their longest such streak in nearly a decade. They scored just 8 points in the first quarter all year. Derek Carr was 22 of 35 for 206 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Hunter Renfrow, 6 catches for 56 yards. Henry Ruggs, 3 catches for 51 yards. Notice no mention of Waller. Josh Jacobs continues to not look healthy. He continues to underwhelm. 15 carries for 48 yards, 1 touchdown. Max Crosby didn't record a stat, but was still disruptive and all over the field. Pro Football Focus rated him the number 1 edge defender through the first 5 weeks of the year. Led the NFL in pressures with 31, quarterback hits with 11. Raiders recorded 2 sacks and 6 quarterback hits. And I wonder if from a gambling perspective, we put our foot on their throat and bet against them heavily. Let's talk about their injury situation right now, and it's not much, although they moved a bunch of players to the injured reserve a couple days before the game. Damon Arnett, Trayvon Mullen, 2 cornerbacks were moved on the Saturday before the game. So was tight end Derek Carrier right before the game. Marcus Mariota is going to return to practice with a quadricep injury. Who cares? And Peyton Barber is questionable. Let's move over to the market in this spot. We have the Broncos opening up as -3.5. There's 1-4 on the board. It's not really a 4. It's a +109.4 from Pinnacle. This total sitting at 44. There's been a 2-cent move to the over at Pinnacle. Then we have the Broncos coming in off a disappointing 27-19 loss at the Steelers. They're trailed by 18 in the fourth quarter, and then Bridgewater threw a couple TD passes to make it closer. Obviously, the wins against the Giants, Jaguars, and Jets look like a not the right. I don't know what the right. I don't think it was a mirage. I don't think that. I think maybe it was just a mirage. Maybe they're just not that good of a football team. Because legitimately, I thought in week 4 that going into Mile High was a very scary thing to do, and it wasn't. Ravens came in and beat the shit out of them. Bridgewater, 24-38 for 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. Cortland Sutton is a beast. 7 catches for 120 yards, 1 touchdown. Tim Patrick, 7 catches for 89 yards. Javonte Williams, I love watching him out there. 8 carries for 61 yards. He deserves a job over Melvin Gordon. And no pressure with Chubb out of the lineup. I mean, all you got to do is focus on Von Miller. Teams are able to do that. This is not the Von Miller of 5 years ago. 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits. Let's just quickly take a look at if there's any possible update. Judy making progress from the right high ankle sprain. There's no return close. Ronald Darby, they hope he'll be able to play in week 6. Mike Ford, another cornerback, suffered a leg injury. Questionable. So Bradley Chubb not coming back this week or next week. Take it away, Bebsie. Raiders, Broncos.
I'd love to fade the Raiders here, given their coaching turmoil, and I think that probably is the right play. I don't know if they'll be able to bounce back quickly. So it's a sit back and watch spot for me. I want to see how this team responds that now that Gruden's gone, because we know they have a ton of talent. We know that if this Gruden thing never happened, and this game was being played, we'd be looking at a different line here. But it did, and now we're looking at this line for what it is, and I just think it's really tough to predict what we're going to see from the Raiders. We got a pretty good idea what we're going to see from Denver, which is some solid defense. Some very average like this team screams 8-8 to me. But I can't play it until I see what the Raiders now do. Like, it was obvious to me last weekend that the Raiders were not going to play for Gruden. And I'm not at all surprised by the fact that he's resigned. And yeah, you're absolutely right when you say this is best case scenario for the Raiders organization. They don't have to pay this clown for what do you have, 6 years left on his contract? He had a bunch left at on that $100 million contract. But this is I can't bet them until I see how they respond, because this is still a good football team, the Vegas Raiders. But can they bounce back now? Is it like, all right, he's gone, let's get back to business? I don't know. I need to see that first, so I'm staying off it.
And very interesting here from Burgundy Bets, and salient point here, and perfect reasoning after Bebsie says he wants to stay off and watch. And I say, do we step on the foot? It's so important from a gambling perspective. When do you put your foot on the throat of a team and make money off of them? This is from Burgundy Bets. It says, Jimmy, this interim coach is a special teams coach. He knows the roster from the bottom half to the top half, talks with everyone, and league talk is very respected. Raiders plus 3.5 in the full game. Look, I've been staying off of so much of this year. card, and I'm very comfortable with that. It may bore the viewers. I will be making moves. I will be making moves on this card. They'll happen throughout the week, and I'll tweet them out, and I will study everything that's being said here in the chat and everything that Bebsie is saying. But Raiders, Broncos, and Empire Field, Mile High, no move for me. Bebsie, let's move on. We get to 4:25 p.m. Eastern, a fascinating game. Dallas Cowboys 4-1, 1-1 on the road, and New England Patriots 2-3, 0-3 at home. We're at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. We have Dallas opening up as 2-point favorites. That's moved to 4. Bodog and Sports Interaction have moved it to 4.5. And I get it. Cowboys look very strong, and they're very healthy. And one of the things that we were worried about them was they had Van Der Esch and players of his ilk that we thought could deal with injuries. Dak Prescott coming off a major injury. This team is rolling and looks excellent. Total opens up at 48. It has moved to 50.5. Let's take a look at the cash flow. 7,263 tickets in. 90% of the tickets at this point are on the Dallas Cowboys. 84% of the cash. 44% of the tickets are on the over. 55% of the cash. Cowboys coming off that dominant 44-20 win at home over the Giants. Cowboys had 515 yards of total offense, including 201 on the ground. They were completely in control the whole game. Dak Prescott, 22 of 32 for 302 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. CeeDee Lamb, 4 catches for 84 yards, 1 touchdown. Dalton Schultz, 6 catches for 79 yards. Schultz looked so good. Go to CeeDee Lamb. Then you have Amari Cooper. You forget about Amari Cooper, 3 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. Zeke looks like old Zeke. 21 carries for 110 yards. Pollard ran 14 times for 75 yards. It was a beautiful double up that you bet on the Sunday show. Micah Parsons, God, did he look good all over the field. 8 tackles, 3 quarterback hits. The Cowboys didn't register a sack, but they got 7 quarterback hits. This is a healthy, very dangerous football team. The Patriots come in off an ugly 25-22 win at Houston. This game was tied at 22 before New England used a 15-play, 85-yard drive and Folk hit his 4th field goal of the game. Mac Jones looked very good. He did get helped by a defensive pass interference call. Arguable one, maybe. Mac Jones, 23 of 30, 231 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Hunter Henry, 6 catches for 75 yards and 1 touchdown. Jacoby Myers, 4 catches for 56 yards. N'Keal Harry, 1 catch for 9 yards. The guy's got to step up. Aguilar's looked okay, and they put a lot of money into their offense. They ran 30 times for 126 yards after running 8 times for -1 yard last week against the Bucs. Damian Harris, 14 carries for 58 yards, 1 touchdown. And Matt Judon is a beast. What a hell of a football player. 2 more sacks, 3 more quarterback hits. Let's just take a quick look at the last information from New England's injury issues here. And Shaq Mason, Ronnie Perkins, Jalen Mills, and Sean Wade, guard, linebacker, and 2 cornerbacks, still inactive last week, questionable this week, no help. Damian Harris is supposedly fine. That rib injury is non-issue, so supposedly fine at this point. And then, as we know, that Trent Brown moved to the injured reserve. Wow, this is an interesting spot. Cowboys, Patriots, take it away.
I don't know why this line is so low. That's what freaks me out. Doesn't it feel like it should be more? Doesn't it feel like it should be a touchdown? Like, Dallas has just been looking great, playing great. And Bill Belichick is going to have a game plan for this offense. He's going to be able to slow them down. This feels like a trap. Do you not think that? Like, I wanna jump on the Dallas Cowboys here. But it feels like a trap. It feels like there's a game. Yeah. I agree with what Dennis Garcia is saying here. It feels I want to jump. Everything tells me that I should bet the Cowboys, except for the fact that he's going up against Bill Belichick, who I just feel is going to be able to neutralize this offense. And then we're going to have to see how this Dallas Cowboys handles, like how this football team handles that, because nobody's been able to really slow them down yet. And this is, Birdie coaching does matter, and McCarthy versus Belichick, who you taking? So this 4-1 Dallas Cowboys team has been rolling. This New England Patriots team is, lost some tight games. There's still a growing identity, but I could see a New England upset in this game. It goes against the logic of what we've seen from both teams so far, but I can't bet it. I want to take New England on a gut, and my brain is telling me to take the Cowboys, and I'm just too at odds to put money on this game. And I won't be going back to that rush prop this week because damn well Bill Belichick's got a game plan for that. It's going to slow them down. So unless those numbers are low, I'll probably, look at Cleveland for the double up.
Ron Crawford broke down an incredible system for this year of, a home team coming off of not covering against a road team that's coming off of covering. That home team is 25-8. I believe I set that up right, Ron, but it was like a couple hours ago. I may have missed that up. Wild. If you want the Patriots, you sit back and wait. Sit back, wait, and relax if you want the Patriots. Crystal Warren says, can we open up McCarthy's emails? It says, how's better with Kellen, honestly. And Puzzler says New England would have to pass well to win. I think that was a confidence builder, even though as a team, Patriots didn't look very good. I think, though, Mac Jones is getting more confident. He's getting a lot of love from his teammates. They're all saying really nice things about him. I agree. I think that the Patriots may be the look here. But if they are, we should wait. So that is my look here. Quickly on the total here, moved up to 50.5. If you had a free bet right now at the total of 50.5, $500, would you go over or under?
I would go under. And in fact, I'm going to put that on my card as a maybe because I think that's way too high.
It does feel too high. So I got some crying here from my kids here. I'm going to okay, Bebsie, we have Sunday Nighter. I'm going to need to take a second here, Bebsie. Steelers, okay. I'm going to have to go here. This is the first time where I've actually had to leave and make sure everything's okay. I'm going to leave for 2 minutes. We'll come back and we'll cap the Steelers game. Bebsie, you can talk Steelers, Seahawks, or regale them with a fabulous story of something else. I apologize.
No, I'll dive into this Seahawks Steelers game here. I don't have all the information in front of me like Jimmy has, so we can talk it out a little bit amongst the chat. But you gotta figure with Russell Wilson out and looking like he's going to be out for an extended period of time, this is a really difficult spot for the Seahawks. So you got to try and understand how they're going to respond. And Geno Smith looked pretty good coming into that game, but are we going to trust that Geno Smith is going to do it? And we've seen this guy play. It's been a while since we've seen him play, but I don't have a ton of faith in Geno Smith personally. Maybe that's because of how much I've watched him be terrible, or maybe that's just because I think this team is going to struggle without Russ there. Russ hasn't missed a game in the better part of a decade. So really, really tough spot for them. But on the other side of the ball, you're sitting there with Ben Roethlisberger, and how do you trust them either? So this to me looks like two bad teams without a quarterback. What's this? Bebsie under the lights. Steelers D. Dutch Boy Fresh saying, Bebsie under the lights. Steelers D will be all over Geno Smith. Yeah, I probably agree with Dutch on this one. Yeah, and Birdie, I don't understand why Flowers was released. I mean, he said he wanted to. And I guess if a player doesn't want to play for you, what are you going to do? I mean, you could bench him. But no, I just think Seattle has way more to overcome in this game than the Steelers do. So given that, what are we looking at? I'm seeing one -5. I'm seeing a couple of -4.5s, which is a weird enough number. Yeah, for me personally, DK over spot. Carson being out. Who knew Ben Deadarm was going to come alive last week? I don't think we can bet on Big Ben having back-to-back good weeks. I don't think his arm's coming back. I just think that was a fine game. I just think, yeah, I agree with Alvin Smith here. It's a stay-away game. You gotta see how Seattle's going to respond without Russell Wilson. It's a really tough spot. I expect them to lose this week. But how do you lay money with the Steelers right now? Yeah, Burgundy bets. Bebsie, how are we laying 5 though? I don't know. It's a weird number, to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know if the Steelers can really take advantage of it though. Like they've been such a up and down team. Week 1 they beat the Bills. We forgetting that week 1 this team somehow, a 10-point first half deficit, came back and beat the Bills. Where's that team? Juju's out for the season now. I think I read that. Big Ben is Big Ben, so it's gonna be heavy on Najee, and if Claypool is healthy, I'm gonna be looking at his overs. This game is going to end up being a props look for me. Gun to my head, I'm probably taking the Steelers in this, but I wouldn't be comfortable with it. Ron Crawford, Crystal Warren, both saying the under. Let's just pull up what that is looking like. 42.5. I mean, that is an extremely low under. For one good defense. Everyone in chat, we got smart cappers besides one is screaming under. Yeah, Burgundy bets. I just mentioned that. I'm going to be looking at Claypool's props with no Juju. I think that's going to be a smart look. I think Najee Harris too, just given the fact that we know Ben can't really push the ball down the field much, I think as this season goes on, Najee Harris's props for both receiving and rushing, it's going to take a while for them to catch up, but I think around this time of year, he's really going to be picking up the speed of the game, and I think that's going to be a real live look going to mid to the second half of the season. By the end, I think the books will have caught up with it, and they'll be putting it up. But, yeah, Johnny K saying Najee yards, I like that look as well. I like both Claypool and Najee's prop looks this week. Again, you gotta wait and see what they wind up at. But a lot of smart cappers calling for the under right now. It's so low. It's so low. And listen, we've all seen Geno Smith play. We all know he can put up points for the other team just like that. So I'm not super confident in that.
Careful, Bebsie. That's former Jets alumni, Geno Smith. Be careful what you say about my boy.
I know you get very upset when I say anything bad about the Jets, but there's a lot of bad things that you can say about the Jets. And it's not an indictment on your character, Jose. I understand you're a wonderful man, but the Jets are bad. They've been bad. They also hold the distinction of being the team known for the butt fumble.
Yeah. Yes, that is my my baby boy, Mark Sanchez, the reason why I'm a Jets fan. And I choose to block that out of my memory, Bebsie. That game didn't happen.
So you were a Sanchez fan pre-butt fumble.
And post.
It wasn't the butt fumble that made you a Jets fan.
You know, I wouldn't say it made me a Jets fan, but it definitely made me realize what this life was going to be like, Bebsie.
Yeah, that's tough. That was in your formative years that butt fumble would have happened.
You know, it was also in my formative years, Bebsie. Mark Sanchez beating the hell out of Peyton Manning and Tom Brady in the playoffs in back-to-back years. Not many people can say that, Bebsie. How about that?
You're absolutely right. Those Jets teams did have some good defenses.
Did you think we were going to have a Jets conversation on the Jets bye week?
I always assume the Jets are going to come up. They're that team. You can talk about them all the time. You got to be relieved that Adam Gase is gone, though.
Yeah, that's like a gigantic weight lifted off my shoulders. Bebsie, as you know, us Venezuelan people, we do the baseball. That's kind of our thing. So football kind of takes a back burner for me, especially the NFL when you have Adam Gase as your head coach. So I'm glad that I have an NFL team again is basically what I'm saying. So
yeah,
shout out to Big Bob Saleh.
Hey, man, I love Bob Saleh. So
I know
I wish them well.
Do you?
I do. I wish Saleh and LaFleur well. And I think there's some foundational pieces in that Jets locker room. Mekhi Becton, if he can stop being hurt all the time, is going to be a fantastic left tackle because he's a freak. But how did this just move to the Jets?
I asked myself the same question. Bebsie, I want to show you something while we're here, you know.
Okay.
We're waiting for Jimmy. He's taking his poop, whatever he's doing. I don't know if you know this, Bebsie, but we're not talking Saints this week. They're on a bye.
We're not talking Saints because they're on a bye.
So we don't get to talk about our beloved Jameis Winston. However, I think we need to sneak this in here. He had his most Jameis Winston game of the year this year, last week. Hail Marys, fumbles, everything in between. The most Jameis last week.
I imagine if you were a Jameis Winston fan. Imagine what an emotional roller coaster it would be to cheer for that man week in and week out.
I mean, honestly, it sounds like a good time. I mean, you can go from the highs of fumbling and like back-to-back possessions and throwing an interception because he's colorblind and blind and everything in between, to him just throwing up a literal moon ball dropping down for a 45-yard Hail Mary. So I hey, I'm right there with you. And I brought up Jameis because I update the Jameis Faces video every week and we don't get to see it. And now it seems like a great time to play it, Bebsie. So I want to show you your face in this lovely video. How about it?
Sure. I believe that Jameis Winston will be fine.
I think that Jameis Winston should win Comeback Player of the Year, possibly lead the NFL in passing yards. Winston looked so in control, and he's just different.
This is a different Jameis. We talked about it last week. I have faith in Jameis, but is it as simple as laser eye surgery? Is it?
Jameis Winston looked lost, and he's incapable of communicating and making smart decisions. He's just incapable between the ears of playing elite football in the NFL.
I'm not going to sell on him yet, but he did look terrible.
Jameis Winston, 13-21, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and I was impressed. You know, he's not eating W's and throwing 2 fingers directly into his mouth anymore.
I bet Jameis Winston drives around with no seatbelt. I love this guy. He was in command of the offense. He didn't make mistakes, and he looked like good Jameis Winston. Will we see good Jameis Winston again this week? Maybe.
Jameis Winston. He is fine. It's the blame is not on Winston.
Jameis Winston, is he back? I don't know.
Hey, sorry about that. You guys had to play the role of dad, and everything is good. Everything is fine. What was the prognosis on Steelers Seahawks? Did you guys lock it down?
There's a lot of people who are like pretty high on the under, which I personally am not. I just think the number is too low and too unpredictable with Geno Smith possibly giving points to the other team, as we know he can do very, very well. But I'm saying the look in this game, for me anyways, is going to be Najee props, and it's going to be Claypool props with Juju out and Big Ben really just, I don't know how many tosses that guy's got left, but it can't be too many.
I want to bet on the Seahawks so badly, but can't do it without knowing what's going on with Bobby Wagner after he picked up the knee injury. He's listed as questionable right now. If there was a healthy Bobby Wagner, I would wait and wait and wait and then back the Seahawks and Geno Smith to take care of business with confidence. It would be the bet I would like to make more than any other bet on this card all week. But I need 20 tackles a game, Bobby Wagner, not hurt Bobby Wagner. I know you guys probably touched on a lot of this, but Pittsburgh opened up -3.5. They're now -5 at Sports Interaction. That's just going to keep going. This total's gone from 43 to 42.5 or 42. This cash flow, 5,876 tickets in, 63% of the tickets and 51% of the cash is on the Steelers. Look, obviously those breakdowns have not worked for me the last 2 weeks while the public has been very successful. But this whole bet screams, I'm going to get value with Geno Smith. Did you see Geno in his first drive? Look, I'm not drinking the Geno Smith juice.
Sounds like you are.
5 for 5, 72 yards, 23-yard reception to DK Metcalf. This guy's been sitting back and watching. He knows this offense inside and out. Look, obviously you want the MVP behind center, but if you're going to get enormous amounts of value with Geno Smith back there against a Pittsburgh Steelers team that's not very good, I think this is screaming bet the Seahawks and wait. Crystal Warren says, is Carson out? Yes. My expectation, he's questionable this week. He's got a neck issue, but it's Rashad Penny that's going to come back off of IR this week. So we don't need to sit there and hope that Alex Collins takes care of business because he's probably incapable of doing that. So, look, I understand the Seahawks are reeling right now, and the whole public sees that. The public is going to be all over the Steelers after that 27-19 win at home over the Broncos. Big Ben goes 15-25 for 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Claypool, 5 catches for 130 yards. Deontay Johnson, 2 for 72. Najee Harris was a monster. I think it can be dangerous. Now, it's all Bobby Wagner. I want to say it can be dangerous expecting Najee Harris to have another monster day. But if Wagner's not available, then I probably won't be able to move on it. Brady says injured player angle, but Flowers leaving quitting is concerning. I'm with Jimmy, but Flowers quitting is concerning. That secondary was already horrible. So let's just quickly take one last look at Seattle right now with everything they've got going on. But for me, Wagner has to be there. And I understand so this is the perfect sit back and wait spot. I want the Steelers to get bet. J-Dub says value will be on the Seahawks. There's Robert Cherry in the house. Bet, and sit back and hopefully get the Seahawks with Wagner in the lineup at what, +6? +6.5? That's what I would like to do. That's my plan of action. Bebsie, you're looking just at Najee Harris props?
No, I'm just I'm replying to our good buddy Alex Pavone right now, who's screaming about how the Browns and the Lions are the plays this week.
Well, if the Browns, he should be in our chat first and foremost. Tell him to get in the chat. And if the Browns are healthy, of course they're the play. And if you can get that 3.5 on the Lions, they probably are the play too. So I don't think he's wrong by any stretch of the imagination. Top says I do not agree here. Seattle Seahawks team total under. Look, I want everybody to think that. That's exactly. I mean, I don't want you to, Elio, but I want everybody to feel the same way. So I'm going to sit back and wait, and I'm going to bet the Seahawks, but only if Wagner is healthy. Bebsie, let's move on to the Monday Nighter, the final game on the card. Buffalo Bills at Tennessee Titans. This pops off at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Thank you guys for holding the fort there where I had a quick little family emergency I had to take care of. Bills 4-1, 2-0 on the road. Tennessee Titans 3-2, 1-1 at home. Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. Sammy Culmer says the Titans here. And Randy Brand says Wagner must. Bills coming in off a dominant 38-20 win at Kansas City. Josh Allen, 15-26, 315 yards. Also ran 11 times for 59 yards. He looked so absolutely in control. Dawson Knox, 3 catches for 117 yards. They were big catches. Stephon Diggs, 2 for 69. Emmanuel Sanders, 3 for 54 and 2 touchdowns. They got 2 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, and only Matt Milano is injured right now. This is the scariest team in the NFL here in week 6. So they have to be the scariest team in the NFL in week 19 and week 20. But right now, there's no question about it. The Bills are monsters. Let's take a look at what this market is here for the Monday Nighter. The Bills opening up at -5.5. That's where they stand now. But there has been an 11-cent move at Pinnacle at the 5.5. This total's gone from 54 to 54.5 at Sports Interaction and 53.5 at Bet Online. Let's take a look at the money. We have 6,960 tickets in. Sports Insight says 85% confidence that the Bills will go to 6. 85% of the tickets on the Bills, 93% of cash. 53% of tickets on the under, 81% of cash. Titans come in off an easy 37-19 win at Jacksonville. But they didn't look very good doing it. A.J. Brown back, still missing Julio Jones. Tannehill 14-22 for 197 yards, 1 touchdown. I say they didn't look very good doing it just because they only forced the Jaguars to punt twice. Marcus Johnson was the leading receiver, 3 catches for 52 yards. Derrick Henry, 29 carries for 130 yards. Now is 640 yards on the ground through 5 games. He ended the streak of 3 consecutive road games with at least 150 yards rushing, but he became the 3rd Titans-Oilers player in history to top 60 rushing touchdowns, just 13 behind Hall of Famer Earl Campbell. Kevin Byard, all over the field, 10 tackles, 2 passes deflected, 1 interception, 1 fumble return for a TD. Harold Landry, 7 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. David Long, 12 tackles, 1 for a loss. But the defense did not look very good. So I almost didn't want to even mention these guys. The defense as a whole allowed 454 yards, forced 2 punts. Cornerback Christian Fulton, hamstring. Linebacker Rashawn Evans, quadricep. Roger Saffold, shoulder. Linebacker Monty Rice, groin. All left the game. All listed as questionable this week. And then Ty Sambrailo retired. Brett Kern moved to the COVID list. He had been out previous 2 games with a groin injury. Julio Jones and Bud Dupree were inactive last week. Are listed as questionable this week. Bebsie, the Monday Nighter, Bills, Titans, take it away.
I'm going Bills first half and full game here. I'm surprised this line is so low right now, even though it's being played in Tennessee. And this is not a recency bias. Week after week, I talk about how good this Bills team is, and they're so good. They have such a deep defense right now. They have excellent coaching. Their offense is firing. even though they have such a soft run game, Moss and Singletary do not give me any confidence, but the big QB does. Josh Allen looks fantastic. That offense is rolling. I don't know how Tennessee can even slow that offense down. And, we're going to see a million clips this week of Henry throwing Josh Norman like he did last year. But Josh Norman's gone, and this Bills team is just fantastic right now. So first half, full game. I love the Bills this week. I love the Bills in this spot. I understand they're on the road, but I don't think that's going to matter. I just don't see how this Tennessee defense can even slow them down.
It's a very public spot coming off a very important game for them.
You know what? It was a very public spot last week against the Chiefs, and they kicked the shit out of the Chiefs. And the Chiefs they're still a better team than the Titans. The Titans have so many injuries as well as being an inferior team. I don't see it. I don't see how the Titans stay in this game.
This bet makes me extremely nervous, but it's going to move to 6, so you might as well get the 5.5 now. You might as well get that first half now. So let's do that for you. There's 1-3 left. You got the last 3 on the board at Heritage. So let's give you that right now. First half -3 at -116. Sorry, first half -3 at -116. And we'll give you the full games at -5.5 here. I don't know. Look, public's been cashing, but this makes me so nervous. -5.5, -110 at Sports Interaction, and most books have moved to 6. So let's get you that -5.5, -110 with no VIG. That's at Sports Interaction. And then this one was at Heritage. I just don't see how this isn't a letdown spot. I don't see how it couldn't be.
I just think this team they're on a warpath right now. This team is motivated. They have letdown spots happen a lot of the time with inexperience and bad coaching. And this team might be a little inexperienced, not on defense. They got a lot of vets on D. But I think McDermott is just too good of a coach to let this happen.
Huh. I hear that. And we've got 6 days to plan this out and attack this game, but I imagine that it's just going to keep moving in the Bills' direction. Those of you who have interest in the Titans, like myself, should just sit back and wait. Got to keep that offense off the field. Look, they're a juggernaut, and it was as embarrassing a call being on the Chiefs last week as I can remember. Again, 84% of the tickets, 93% of cash on the Bills. So it's not a situation where you have 90% of tickets, but just 75% of the cash. I'd be curious to see if that ever comes to fruition. And then 53% of tickets, 81% of cash on the under. Bebsie, this total here, and we know there's one plan for Tennessee, and that's the run. At 54, if you had a free bet, $500 bet, would you go over or under?
At 54, here's the problem is Tennessee run is the strategy. And they even do that when they get behind because it's still their best option. But again, this Bills team is too talented to do that. So they're going to have to start airing it out at some point, which does favor the over. But if you're still out Juju, if you're still out Julio, and you're still out A.J. Brown, then you really have one weapon. And the Bills are too good of a team to let that one weapon tear them up, especially if they get to a point where they're playing from behind. So free play, I honestly think I would take the under.
This is a very tricky week. Those of you in your survivor pools, like myself, it's a very tough week as well. I've done almost nothing. And, after dominating the first 2 weeks and getting hurt the last 3 weeks, and now starting my first show in the red of the year, I can understand why I've done it. I will be making moves. We will have a big show on Sunday that Bebsie will be on as well, and I will be making moves throughout the week. At this point, there's only one for sure move, but I don't see, honestly, I don't see how I won't have some angle on the Titans come Sunday. All right, let's break this down here. We're going to do a review of the action. I'm interested in the under and in the Eagles on Thursday. And I've got to take a long look in the mirror if I want to make that bet because the Buccaneers embarrassed me last week. I have interest in the Dolphins at Jacksonville. I think that there was some very salient comments by Bebsie about Flores having these guys ready to go, and who knows what Meyer's going to have. Bebsie moves on the Chargers +3 at -108, and had we not kept such a focus on the market, I'd be on it too. At this point, I'm going to stay off. But I'm very interested in that game, and I can't wait to break it down throughout. Bebsie moved on the Bears, team total under 20.5, and I think it's a great look. And the idea being that Fields can't take advantage of Jair Alexander and now Kevin King hurt in the Packers secondary. But even that, I will lock in for Bebsie tonight, but even that I'm going to need to stare at for longer. Then we have Bebsie on first quarter, first half in Rams-Giants. And I'm on something completely different. I'm on the Rams team total under in the full game under 47.5. Now, I have to be sure that the market isn't going to continue moving in the Rams' direction and that there might not be more money towards the over because it's possible that I get a better line than a team total of 30.5 in the full game under 47.5. But those are the two spots I want the most. I just don't necessarily need to move right now. I may have to. I'll take a closer look at the market. Vikings Panthers, we stayed off. Chiefs first half, I think is a must bet now after sitting on it for 2 hours. Chiefs first half at Washington. I'm going to take a closer look at it, but if the Chiefs don't fire here early, then it's all over for them. And Crystal says, I think you'll get a better number. I think you're probably right, Crystal. So and Ray Charles says Bears keep it close first half, and the Packers probably pull away. Bengals Lions no bet, but I wonder if Pavi talked Bebsie into moving on the Lions. Interesting. Bebsie moved on the Colts -4.5 at -105 in Texans Colts. And
first half.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't write first half. The Colts first half -4.5, -105. I completely get it, but I kind of like this Texan squad for whatever reason. I messed up betting them last week, but the capping was strong. It's just the betting was weak. Cardinals Browns. I need to know what's going on with the Browns secondary before I can bet them. And I respect everybody with the balls that's going to bet them anyways. Raiders, Broncos, no move for Bebsie and I. I want the Patriots. And I'm going to wait. I'm going to sit back and wait. Seahawks, Steelers. I want the Seahawks. And I'm going to wait. And I love it. But if Wagner's not there, I'm not betting it. That's simple. And on the Monday nighter, Bebsie's moved on the Bills first half and full game. And I get why, but I need more study. So, God, this could be the first ever Tuesday night show that Bebsie and I have had together. It's the second year of us doing it where I don't bet anything tonight. So I would have never happened before, but maybe it happens tonight. But I will lock in Bebsie's actions. Bebsie, spectacular work. Sorry I had to bust out there for a minute. Thank you for holding down the fort.
Family first, buddy.
Also, those of you watching the show and looking at our records, I've never seen Bebsie with a losing record. So I'm excited to see how he handles this adversity. And there's more than just me that are excited to see how Bebsie handles the adversity. And I believe in you, Bebsie. I think you're going to have a winning week. You would have had a winning week last week, except for that Raider situation that you knew you just within there wasn't even a second break until you said, oh, those are both going to lose after the Gruden fiasco. You get stronger as the year goes on. Last year you had that incredible start to the year, but as we've capped for years together, you've gotten better as the year goes on. I expect success from you. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us throughout this show. You guys inspire us, make us want to work harder. Bebsie, any last words for these great cappers in the chat?
As usual, thank you for joining us. And thanks for chatting with me while Jimmy buggered off and we had a couple of different looks, but I will be throwing out some more props by the end of the week and definitely looking closely at that Najee Harris prop. But you guys are so much fun. Thank you guys so much, as always, for joining us. And why don't we go ahead and get paid, huh?
Let's go get that cash. And truly, what a great group. Ray Charles, JT, Cindy Plays Horses, Crystal Warren, Ron Crawford, Topset, Chris Brady, Birdie, Johnny K, Slatsy, Dennis Garcia, Puzzler, Harold Williams. It's just such great. Robert Cherry. God, I just love capping with you guys so much. Brady says, interesting theory I heard today. Books leaked Gruden news because they had so much liability on Meyer being the first coach fired. That's wild. That's so wild. Yeah, if the Washington football team wasn't such a poorly run franchise, none of this would have ever happened. It's all because of the shit show that Dan Snyder runs in Washington that got Gruden fired. Very interesting. I love you guys. Let's have a giant week on behalf of all of us here at Pub Sports Radio, Jose Bouquet, Jeff Slaughter, and all of us here, Bebsie and myself. Let's get that cash week 6. Let's go.